Namaste to all of you. A very warm welcome to this evening's call. Friends, today we have a very wonderful speaker with a very wonderful session. The topic is very interesting and very exciting to all of us. Jijith ji is a former scientist from ISRO. Before we do a formal introduction of Jijith ji, as well as the topic of today, I request my colleague Chandrasekhar ji to kindly introduce Pragna Bharati. For those of you who are, come here for the first time, this is a customary duty to introduce our organization before we start the call. Chandrasekhar ji.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Bharati. Namaskar to everyone, to the speaker Jijith ji and everyone who's on the call. Warm welcome this evening to this evening's Zoom session. Yeah, for the benefit and information of those of you who are here on the call for the first time, like Bharati said, I just want to do a brief introduction of our organization, Pragna Bharati. This organization, Pragna Bharati, was founded about 29 years ago with the idea of creating a platform for like-minded nationalistic thinkers. So basically, this is a nationalistic intellectual thinkers forum. The brain behind this idea was Ram Madhavji, who is the BJP's national secretary today. And there were other great minds who actually came together and founded this. They were, I must mention, with starting from Dr. T. Hanuman Chaudhary Garu, who is our chairman of Pragna Bharati today. He's a Padma Shri awardee, as most of you know. And he has been the chairman of BSNL. So currently he's next chairman of BSNL, and he was the IT advisor to the combined Andhra Pradesh then. And fondly we say we introduce him as 19 years young because he's so dynamic and very active as of today, and he's sparing a lot of time, and he's always busy writing, either writing or reading. And we have B.S. Sharma ji. I'm sure he's on the call amongst us today. He has been a professional, pharmaceutical professional, and he's also, right from the beginning, he was busy interacting and supporting this organization a lot. And two other persons who are no more, they are Vakati Panduranga Garu and Harihara Sharma Garu. They also spared a lot of time and made a lot of effort to bring this organization so far. And the idea behind this starting this organization was to spread the nationalistic thoughts and present the correct history. As you all know, the intellectual space today is full of leftists spreading wrong narratives about almost anything, like the nation, the dharma, history, anything we see, even the textbooks, we find a lot of negative. So basically, the idea is to show the nation in a low light or no light at all. You see what I mean? So to counter this, we need such an organization. In fact, these great minds foresaw this then itself about 29 years ago. So that is the result of this organization today. And how do we do that? We conduct seminars, roundtable meetings, conferences, workshops. We actually visit the institutions as well and invite intellectuals and eminent people from various fields. So they come to us and speak on different topics. Before COVID, we used to do that a lot, and now we're on Zoom. And so right from the lockdown, beginning of lockdown, we have been having these sessions. So it's going good with all your support. And these outcomes after these meetings, we actually publish them and draft them, and we send the draft copies to the, submit them to the concerned ministries. And we're happy to say that most of the times our suggestions were considered. And also, these outcomes are published in the Bharati Pragna, the English monthly magazine we bring out. It is rich in content, and it's available at a very nominal subscription. It's 500 rupees only for 2 years. That is 24 copies. So I recommend and I suggest please subscribe if you haven't done that already, because it will add a lot of value to your bookshelf, I'm very sure. And next thing I must mention is we have an award called Pragna Puraskar. We do identify special personalities, I mean, who strive hard to show the nation in very high light, and do a lot of nationalistic work. So the most recent person who was awarded this was Dr. G. Satish Reddy, who's currently scientific advisor to the defense minister. And friends, I think that's more to it. And we are actually present on the social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, YouTube. In fact, right now this program is being recorded, and in a couple of days this will be uploaded onto YouTube as well, so that everyone can watch anytime. So please do reach us through email, info@pragnabharati.in, if you have something to share, or even if you have any content to share with us or to publish in the magazine, any thoughts you want to share. And also please do like or share and follow, spread the good word, I mean, about this organization, because we need such organizations and we are doing a good work. So please keep supporting us and encouraging us. Thank you so much. Back to Girdharji.
Thank you, Chandrasekhar ji, for the introduction of our organization. And friends, this is my great pleasure to introduce you Jijith Nadumuri Ravi ji. He's a former scientist from ISRO, a very illustrious career he had. He was one of the persons who worked on Chandrayaan-1 mission. As you all know, it was a huge success. For the first time, any country could reach up to moon and take photographs, map it, get into its orbit in the very first attempt. Many countries tried it, but then they took several attempts before they reached, whereas India could do it the very first time, and Jijith ji was part of that particular group. He was highly appreciated and commended by none other than Bharat Ratna, Dr. Abdul Kalam. And then he did yeoman service in terms of GSLV, D1, D2, and so many other launches from ISRO. With that kind of a pedigree, he comes out, and then what does he do? He has not gone to some, private space programs like whatever in the US to mint money. He has invested his time and energies. He's invested his time and energies to bring out the glory of Bharat. Friends, you'll be amazed. He has produced 23,700 pages of content about various Puranas, Itihasas, and then maps of Bharata Varsha, the lineages, Ikshwakus and Pandu lineage, so many lineages. If you go to his website, what I will do is I'll just briefly share you his website. But I would request all of you to kindly note this. It is Ancient Voice, ancientvoice.com. It is ancientvoice.wiki.com. So this is the website. He's got all Vedas and everything that you can talk about on our Vangmaya. He has produced a massive amount of content. It's like a walking dictionary for any of us who want to go and explore them. Not just that, he has produced a lot of maps, a lot of work he has done. And so we are so proud of the kind of work that he has done in terms of scientifically looking at all this content and then digitizing it and producing it in one place. And then he is also currently focusing on digital platform to popularize Dharma called Dharma Digital. He has created many digital holograms, and he has done for holograms of personality like Pandavas, Panchali, Rama, Sita. He's also an artist. So he's a multifaceted personality. He has presented and published 6 research papers in the area of Mahabharata geography in many international conferences. So we are so happy to have him today here. Friends, the problem is we have somehow over a period of time, we have forgotten our own roots. We just go to the normal known circuits, maybe to Kurukshetra, Mathura, maybe a few sites, and that's it. But there are huge amount of telltale signs of ancient glorious Bharat tucked away in small villages and towns. Even now there are towns associated with birthplace of Draupadi, Lakshagriha, each aspect of Mahabharata, Ramayana. There are places which people are not even aware. Shukratal, where Shuka Maharshi has enlightened Parikshit Maharaj for 1 week on Bhagavata. There is a huge banyan tree there. So, but we are completely unaware of it. And biggest problem for us is our entire understanding of Bharat starts and ends with Wagah border. Beyond Wagah border, what is it we don't even know? Whereas Akhanda Bharat during Mahabharata or Ramayana period extended far, far, far beyond. A couple of weeks back, we had a program on Uyghur problem. So Uyghur Xinjiang, activists had come. Those areas are Uttara Kuru, distant cousins of the Kuru Vamsha. And then you had people who from Balkadesham, which is like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and those places. They also fought in Mahabharata war. So our consciousness need to expand beyond our current legal territory and understand this entire geography. Unless we understand our own geography, our history, our heritage and culture, we are not going to be a proud nation. And unless we have that kind of a pride in our civilization and culture, we are not going to be a Vishwa Guru anytime soon. It is not for one Narendra Modi ji or one government to do something for us. It is every common Indian Bharatiya who has to feel proud about his civilization. Friends, it gives me great pleasure to now invite Jijith ji to make his presentation. And of course, it will be followed by a Q&A once he is done with it. We are also eager to listen to him, see his presentation, and he's going to also show us some maps. Let's understand how various kingdoms of that particular era, were they spread across, and let's revisit the glory of Akhanda Bharat. Jijith ji, please go ahead.
Yeah, namaste everybody, and many thanks to Giridhar ji for the illuminating introduction and the kind words. And I am immensely happy to have making this presentation to this auspicious gathering. So this is some kind of a talk. I have provided the variants of it into various different other organizations and gatherings. And currently what I am going to talk is basically the overview of it, because the subject is very vast, because I have to present different aspects of it into different research papers, around 6 like that. So this talk, basic introduction into the geography of Mahabharata, that is what I am trying to attempt. Because if you look at the Mahabharata studies, there are multiple disciplines right now that has emerged, which is enough to have to make curriculums in the universities, or ideally I feel that it should be part of starting with the school curriculum, because that much amount of geographical and chronological information is there in the Mahabharata. And the most popular research area into Mahabharata is chronology. I have talks related to that, but currently I am focusing on the geography. So the chronology thing is something like all these people working on the chronology, different dates for Kurukshetra, they have become very popular, and people have attended such kind of talks with great interest. And the geographic part, because there are not many number of speakers, and the information is disseminated very, very slowly, so that because of that there is maybe a relatively lesser amount of exposure to this particular subjects. So I will also try to give an introduction to this particular line of study. So just let me try to share the screen. I think currently it is disabled. Can you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope you are able to see the screen in full, and there is no part of the text which is getting overlapped, because I am showing a large number of maps and other detailed information, so that it will be very important that if we have the full screen completely visible. So as just as an introduction to the geography of the Janapadas of Mahabharata period. So what I would like to say is that the word Janapada is basically like currently defined as like in English language, when you translate it, is called kingdom. But it is interesting to note how this word has come into place. So it is like it's not like current districts or states in India, where you have a well-defined territory. But what happens is that there will be a small area of dwelling that will pop up, in the form of towns, villages, or cities. Just like the Harappan cities, the small the Pirana was our most ancient Harappan city around 7000 BC, and then you have Rakhigarhi at 4000 BC. So this kind of townships start emerging, and then there is a Raja or a king who will be start ruling from that region, and then the roads start building from that particular central region, that is the city, the capital city, and then these roads will connect with other villages and with the towns and the pilgrimage places, etc. So that there is a road network that is happening, and the people start moving around. And so basically Janapada is the places where the people, the Jana, that is the people of the Rajya or the kingdom moves, and they will be moving and moving around, and then the path is set. Patha in Sanskrit, it is like similar the English word path. They have the same route. So the path is set, and that is what the Janapada implies. Maybe there is no exact boundaries, but the mountains, rivers, and geographical regions will act as the boundary for a Janapada. So I will talk about it in detail in the subsequent slides. So since this is a very introductory kind of talk into this particular geographical analysis, I have this slide. So it is basically the words of Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the advisor and the minister of Dhritarashtra. And just before the Kurukshetra war started, Sanjaya was explaining to Dhritarashtra about what is how describing the whole earth. That is why this particular Parva in the 100 Parva classification, it is called Bhuvana Kosha. So in the Bhuvana Kosha, the Sanjaya starts with the description about the entire world, and you will be surprised to know about the amount of information that he gives for the entire totality of the world itself. And I have gone through many books. So far, I have not seen this particular mapping or analysis in any other books. So that is why I have, with great importance, I have put it. Anyway, it is part of my research papers which I have submitted. So it's the Bhuvana Kosha starts with the description about the entire earth, and it says, Sudarshanam pravakshami dvipam te kurunandana parimandalo maharaja dvipo sauchakra samstita lavanena samudrena samatata parivarita sudarshano dvipo drishyate chandramandale dirasme pipalas tatra dirasme cha shasho mahan. So this is a very interesting verses. What it says is, let me check the lesser. Yeah. So what it says that there is the entire world. It is in the shape of a Sudarshana. So maybe you may be tempted to think like, anyway, the earth is a globe, it's a sphere. But how can Sanjaya talk about Sudarshana? It's like the Sudarshana chakra, the circular. And anyway, the Sanskrit word means beautiful to behold, Sudarshana. But basically, it is this particular word is applied for the circular objects like Sudarshan chakra of Krishna, something like that. So anyway, even other ways chakra is mentioned. Like, so it is a circular continental arrangement. So you will not get this particular this kind of map if you try to look at there's a normal Euclidean kind of maps. You cannot get it. But if you look at the polar world, like polar world map, this kind of maps are also there existing. For example, the United Nations use this kind of a map on its emblem, and it is called the polar azimuthal equidistant projection of the globe. If you look at and compare the narrative of Sanjaya with this particular polar azimuthal projection of the world map, you will see that it exactly matches with the world map. So for example, it says that there are two continents which are of the shape of Pipala. Pipala is like a tree. There is a Pipala tree. So you can look at the African continent and the South American continent. They look like a tree. Like this is the top of the tree, and this is the trunk of the tree. So this is South America. One of the continent is a Pipala tree. another Africa. So top is like a tree top, and then you have a trunk. So two continents of the shape of pipala tree, and then Durasme Shashomaha. So Shasha means rabbit. So you have two continents which are of the rabbit shape. And if you look at like in this exactly this particular map projection, you see the this American North America exactly looking like a rabbit actually. So this is the legs of the rabbit, the tail, and here you can see in the Alaskan region there is a small ear also. And similarly in the Asia, there is another big rabbit, and this is like the Kamchatka Peninsula in the Russian region. So this is the ear. And even in there are some other Puranic narrative where it says very far away in the north, near to the Airavata, there is a region called there is an island, Nagadvipa, where the Nagas are residing, and that island is shaped in the form of an ear. They even give the name Gokarna. Gokarna is anyway the ear of a cow, but there is definitely a local Gokarna in Karnataka, but the large region called Gokarna is also mentioned where the Nagas are residing. So I will talk about that. So this particular geography is somehow familiar to the ancient world during the Mahabharata period, and it is coming through the words of Sanjaya. So Vyasa is the creator of Mahabharata, and through Sanjaya, Vyasa is giving this geographical information to the future generation. And this is a really amazing kind of information, because we may be thinking that maybe the ancient people like Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra may be knowing about the local areas around Hastinapur, maybe the entire Bharatvarsh, or maybe something a little bit north of it. But they have a very detailed information, at least the shape of the entire globe they knows, even though they may not be going anywhere, going into all the places, but at least the shape, they are fully aware about it. At least that is what this verses is saying. There is no other way you can explain this verse, because exact match is there. Because if you want to match two continents of the shape of rabbit and two continents of the shape of a tree, and if you look at this polar azimuthal map, and there is nobody who will not be amazed. So this is our starting point. So we have now understood the top level, the global level kind of information that Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra, in other words, the Mahabharata period people knows. That is remarkable. And then if you look at Sanjaya is going into details. So Dhritarashtra is very curious. He is asking one after the other a lot of questions, and Sanjaya is answering them. So after describing the entire world as a Sudarshana island, I think I forgot one more thing. So in this, it also mentioned about that entire continents, all this rabbit-shaped and the tree-shaped continent surrounded by a circular island. See the Levana Samudrana. So all these continents are inside the Levana Samudra. That is this entire ocean. That is the combined Pacific, Indian Ocean, and Atlantic. That is the Levana Samudra. And surrounding that is a Sudarshana Dvipa. So the Sudarshana Dvipa, you will never get that kind of a Dvipa in a normal map of the world. But in the azimuthal projection, what happens? The South Pole, that is Antarctica, wraps in the form of a circle. So that completes the picture. So Antarctica is not a circular continent that is surrounding the entire globe, but in a circular azimuthal map, definitely it appears in that form. So the information to Sanjaya definitely came from a polar azimuthal projection of the map, even if you don't understand it properly, but he is describing that. That is very sure about it. Because he is not naming this exactly like that we know it today, but the shape is he knows very well. And also the Antarctica shape it becomes circular, that also coming from these verses. So you have this 2-3 pointed information, rabbit shaped two continents, tree shaped two continent, and the Antarctica becoming a circle. This is the result of the projection. This is a particular, this kind of a shape comes because of this particular kind of projection. Yeah, so that is about it. And then he talks about little more detail. So what happens is that he says that, okay, then Sanjaya, Dhritarashtra asks, now I need to know more detail about the continent that looks like a rabbit. So maybe he said two continents are there, but maybe Dhritarashtra is also knowing about this particular geography. So he knows that where they are living, that is in one of the continent which is rabbit shape. So he's asking, like, I need to know more details about the continent which is of the shape of rabbit. And then he says that this particular continent you are talking about, that is our continent, that has got 7 divisions. And that is what the Varsha word comes here, because the Sanskritam has an important characteristics that it reuse the words. So the word Varsha is having a different meaning when it talks about seasons and years. So the Varsha means Varsha is a marker of the start of the year. So 1 year is called one Varsha. But the same word Varsha is also used in the geography, reused in the geography. So you have the entire continent is divided into 7 Varshas. Okay, so only one more thing. The continent, the word continent in Sanskritam, it is called Dvipa. So the Dvipa word currently it is used for even smaller islands, but in the ancient period, the word Dvipa is used for much larger, continental shaped, continental sized regions. So he basically, if you look at the original Mahabharata verse, they will say, Dhritarashtra will be asking, I need to know the divisions in the rabbit-shaped Dvipa. In other words, a rabbit-shaped continent, that is Asia. So in that he has 7 divisions. So the southernmost is the Bharata Varsha, and you can see in the verse it is mentioned that this particular this southernmost Varsha is the bow shape. That is Dhanushamste Maharaja Dvevarshe Dekshinottare. So out of the 7 Varshas, the one that is in the south and the north are in the shape of a bow. So in the list you see the top is the Airavata Varsha, that is the northernmost Varsha, and that is in the shape of a bow. So that's what I am showing actually. So if you look at the northern shoreline of Asia, if you this is actually a little more flat projection, but in the real globe, if you look at it, spherical globe, it's perfectly a bow shape. Here also it is bow shape, but the concavity of the bow will be much more acute if you look at it in the real spherical map of the Earth. And it's exactly similar, like in the southern, the Bharata Varsha is also bow shape. So this is also information is matching with the Asian continent. And surprising that these data points are exactly matching. There are two Varshas in Asia which are bow shaped. So Bharata Varsha and Airavata Varsha. And in between these 2 Varshas, you have Hiranyaka, Shweta, Ilavrta, Harivarsha and Himavat Varsha. So this is lying in between these 2 Varshas. So definitely Airavata, then you have to associate with the Siberian region or the northern Russian region. So this much information is much more well known. Just like they know at least enough information about the entire world to write 5-6 verses, 6 line of Sanskrit verses. They know that much amount of information about the entire world. They know much more detail about Asia. And the number of verses in which this information containing it's around 16 to 32 verses. Sanjaya is describing the entire Asian continent as divided into 7 Varshas or divisions. And out of which top one and bottom one, Airavata and Bharata Varsha are actually bow shaped. And it's all exactly same like what we are seeing in the current map of Asia. So now what happens? He goes into much more details. So here what Sanjaya is doing is all these Varshas are actually divided or separated by mountain ranges. So I said in the Janapadas or even all the different political units, geographical unit in the ancient times, their boundaries are defined by mountain ranges, rivers, etc. So these Varshas are divided by mountain ranges. So here if you look at you have the bottommost, you have Bharata Varsha, and on north of Bharata Varsha is the Himavat mountains, and after that there is a Varsha called Himavat Varsha. So in that, if you look at, it is some kind of Indo-Gangetic plain, like Bharata Varsha, the most amount number of people are living in Sindhu Ganga rivers. So Indo-Gangetic plain is the most populated region in Bharata Varsha. Similarly, in Himavat Varsha, if you look at between this Himavat mountain and Hemakuta mountain, Hemakuta is the Kailas range. So it's not the Kailas mountain because that is a small point in the map. Kailas range is a big mountain range starting with Kashmir and going to very long into eastern Tibet. So in between, sandwich between Kailas range and Himavat mountain, that is the proper Himalaya, you will see Sindhu river flowing, Brahmaputra river flowing. So there are two river valleys, that is Brahmaputra river valley and Sindhu river valley between these two mountain ranges, and people are living there. And in Mahabharata, if you look at other parts of the Mahabharata, you see the Yakshas and Kinnara and some Gandharva. All the people are mentioned as living in this particular region. Yaksha Vaisravana Kubera is mentioned as a neighbor of Shiva. And Shiva, as per our tradition, lives in Kailas mountain. And near to that is a Manas Sarovar. So the Yaksha Kubera Vaisravana, he is living in that territory. Even the Pandavas, during their Vanvas, when they visited the mountain, Himalayan mountain region, they entered into this region. And somewhere close to the Manasa Sarovar, Bhima has seen the Hanuman, and also went for getting the Saugandhika flowers. So all this happens in the Himavat Varsha, between Hemakuta and Himavat mountains. And then beyond Kailas range, that you have called Harivarsha. The Harivarsha is like the region of Tibet to the north of the Kailas range. Even the word Harivarsha to define Tibet is in many Sanskrit literature, they have used the same word to define Tibet as a Harivarsha. So you already have a very good name for Tibet in our Sanskrit text, and that is Harivarsha. And then there is a Nishatha mountains. So if you look at the map, say so this is Bharata Varsha and then Himavat Varsha, this is the mountain ranges. This is the Hemakuta I mentioned, like it's from Kashmir to this much region in the Tibet. This is the Kailas range, it is there. And between that, there is a Nishatha mountains. And it's identified as a Kundlun mountains. So if you want to see it as a mountain, you need to embark on a travel. So you see that after crossing the Himalaya, all the sannyasi sages in our Puranas, they mentioned as crossing Himalayas. They will reach a plain region, that is the Sindhu Brahmaputra river valley. After that, they will see a mountain in the northern side. And those mountains, they are called Kailas range. And the particular mountain is also called Mount Kailasa. And if you cross that again, you will have so many lakes and plain terrain. There is no mountain. It's like small hills will be there, but it's a plain terrain. After that, you reach for a little more north, you see a mountain range, that is a Kunlun Shan mountain ranges in China, they are called Kunlun Shan. That is our Nishatha range. And if you cross that, if you cross the Nishatha, you will see a plain desert. And this desert is mentioned in Ramayana. There is another narrative in Ramayana where this particular desert is mentioned. It is coming in the Vanara travels, like Sugriva's army when he is moving to the northern side. This particular desert is mentioned, and very clearly mentioned that nobody lives there, except in the boundaries. Like you see some greenery here. Maybe I'll make it a little bigger. Yeah. Except these green patches here, where there are some people living, the desert is completely barren. And this desert is mentioned in Ramayana. Maybe I can discuss about it in some other later talks actually. So after the Nishatha, you will have a Nila mountain. So Nila mountain is after this entire barren region. This is the Tarim basin, by the way, because this is created millions of years ago because of some crater. One meteor fell here and it becomes a basin. It becomes like a meteor impact. Because of meteor impact, the plain is created. And some researchers say that it was a lake the entire this entire small depression was filled with water during ice ages, etc. So there was a small sea here actually. So there are theories, even though I'm not subscribing to it, but there are some interesting theories like this is the sea where the Shira Sagara Manthan was happened, etc. But we cannot substantiate it. It's just conjecture, speculation. But I'm saying there are interesting information about this, some other informations as well. So yeah. So after this, this Nishadha mountains, you have you go a little more northern. Like if you go a little more northern side, you will have another mountain ranges called Shweta. So this this Nila mountain is the Tian Shan mountain. It is the highest, tallest mountain ranges in the China. And in Tian Shan in China also, it is very divine mountain. They call it as the mountains of the gods. The gods are living there, like that. And it may not be a surprise to you. The Chinese gods, whoever the Chinese called gods, they are similar to our gods, like because they have the concept of Yaksha Kubaira. Vaisravana Kubaira is mentioned them. Just a minute, I'm seeing some circles popping up, but
yeah. So what you can do is you can remove the screen share and again share it.
Yeah.
These things happen in Zoom. This is a normal feature actually.
Okay.
This happens. That's very funny. I don't know why the lines come. Nobody knows.
Yeah. Yes. So what I'm saying is that this Tian Shan mountain is also a divine mountain in China. In their tradition, the gods are living in this region, and it is bluish in color. Like if you actually go travel, and you see that on the backdrop of the horizon, it's all look bluish in color. And this Tian Shan mountain is also going into the Afghanistan. So that is another information, because all these mountains, like Himalayan mountains, comes like that and reach here. That is the Meru. This particular triangle I mentioned is Meru. So Himalayan comes here from this entire border of India and China, or maybe passing through Nepal. Starting from the Arunachal Pradesh, the Himalayan mountains goes like this in a curve, forming a curve. It reaches the Meru mountain. Similarly, the Nishad, this Hemakuda, the Kailas range also reaches here. And the Nishada, that is this Kunlun Shan, that is also coming here and reaches here. Similarly, the Nila mountains also comes reach. So the Tian Shan. So all the mountains are coming and merging in the same geological region. And this particular this is called this particular region, and that is why it is called Meru, because Meru is, if you look at all the different Puranas, if you read, this particular information is mentioned in indirect ways, like the Meru is a central mountain, etc. So
maybe you want to do it again. Yeah, this is some pain that we have. We can't help it.
It's happening everywhere, every time.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Sometimes it happens, and this is just some weakness in Zoom.
Yeah, but maybe somebody, like if they take this annotate, then they can actually make these scratches, and if there is any permission provided to somebody.
No. Only single permission. Only one person can share it. Nobody is doing it.
Yes. Correct. So maybe I'll try avoiding moving the mouse, because if it is coming because of that, I'll try that. So
no, it's got nothing to do with it. Whether you move or not, still it can happen.
It can happen. Okay.
That is a weakness in Zoom, and we'll live with it. It's okay. That's okay. We'll live with it.
Yeah.
If it is too clustered, you just come out and then reshare it. That's it.
Okay. So that is thing. So because so many mountains are coming and joining here, that is why this particular Tajikistan region, the Pamir knot is identified by many, not only me but many other researchers like K.S. Waldia, who has focused most on the geology and geography of the Puranas. Like I was focusing on the Mahabharata geography. So he also identified this Meru as the this Pamir knot, because so many mountains which are mentioned in the Puranas are joining into this particular geological knot actually. And it can be because of this, like like if somebody living in the Meru mountain, they have access to all the other mountain ranges. Because they have to travel in a particular direction along a particular mountain, then they are like it's like they can pass through any of these mountains. So this Himavan, Hemakuta, Nishatha, and Nila, all these 4 mountains are merging here. But after that, there are some other 2 more mountain ranges, Sweta and Sringavan. So Sweta is the Altai range, and Sringavan is the Sayan range. So these are the 2 mountain ranges which you will encounter as you move further northward. So I have shown here a blue color. In the map, you can see a blue color. This is actually a human migration path. There is one of the genetical group which is migrating somewhere in the Central Asian region. Like researchers say that it is Central Asian region, but my point is that it could be from the Kashmir, because this just few kilometers between this, whatever they mention as Central Asia and Kashmir. Because we have got a very interesting kind of a concept of birth of all the different tribes, different ancient people in Kashmir Valley. The Kashyapa was living in Kashmir, and the Kashyapi is associated with all the this devatas like Aditya, Daitya, Danava, Rakshasas, and Yaksha, Kindra, Gandharvas, Nagas, and Suparnas. So all the different tribes that is mentioned, different kind of beings. I mean, in Puranas, there will be the little bit magical narratives are happening. So all the origin of everybody is like Kashyapa, who is living in Kashmir. That is a kind of a concept that we have in the Puranas. And maybe just like Sanjaya has got a map, like he got a polar map of world, and that information got encoded into the Mahabharata. So probably we can even know that some of this particular ancient migrations they know by verbal by word of mouth for a long period of time. These informations were communicated to the generations after generations. So this becomes something like a Puranic narrative. Maybe it's possible. So there is a connection possible, like the people are moving and moved from this region. So when I say Kashmir and Central Asia, the difference is only from here to here. So it's not a big thing. So this particular group is there. I don't exactly remember because I'm not a geneticist, so I don't remember. But I have seen in the maps. If you look at one of the genetical migration maps, you will see this particular line, and this line is coming from here, and it is traced to China for sure. China and Central Asian genetical trade, and it goes through this Asia, the northeast of Asia. It goes to the Americas. And they also they populate the North American continent and also the South American continent. And they are known to us as Mayans and Aztecs and other people. And you have seen them having some kind of affinity to feathers. All their dress, if you look at their dress, you'll see they somehow have some kind of affinity to a feathered bird, like they want to appear like a bird because their headgear, their crown, everything is decorated with feathers. The entire body, you will see a lot of clothes, everything like full featherly. And so like it's something like it's very close to our narrative. Like there was a conflict between Nagas and the Garuda, like the Suparnas, the 2 tribes, children of Kadru and Vinata, the 2 matriarchal ancient mothers. And they have a conflict, and then they because when you have a conflict, then one or both the group or one group will migrate, and then similar migration patterns you are kind of seeing in the genetics also. So, and these people also having the costumes and everything similar to Like if you ask me, I will say they are looking like Garudas. Like they have all the feathers on their headgear, everything. And if you look at, if you find the entire pantheon of the Mayans, all their gods and goddesses, they are feathered. And some of them have wings, some of them have beaks, and they are all looking like the Garuda that you will be representing in our temples, with globular eyes and big beaks, and very pretty. I don't have that like image of it, so I'm saying that. So there is some connection. It's very remote, and it is currently a conjuncture, but it can be true. And as I mentioned, this is also going towards the Kamchatka Peninsula, which is the rabbit's ear. If the Asia is considered as a rabbit, there is an ear, and that rabbit ear is going. So we have in the same narrative of the Garuda Purana and all the Garuda narrative in Mahabharata, we say that all the Nagas went and migrated to the Naga Dvipa, and Naga Dvipa is a shape of an ear, and that ear is also mentioned as Gokarna. And this is a big region. I mean, it's not a small place called Gokarna. It's a big region because the entire terminologies are reused again and again. So you will have it named for a small place as well as for a big region as well. So this is what I know. This is the correspondence of the information in the Sanjaya's narrative about the 7 Varshas and the 6 mountains that divides the 7 Varshas. And anybody who traveling from Kashmir to the Kamchatka Peninsula, similar to the ancient migration, they will see all these mountains, exactly like mentioned in the narrative of Sanjaya. In the map, because map is actually, you are looking from the top, the elevations are not very clear. But if you travel, definitely you will see these 6 Varshas, 6 mountains you will encounter on your journey. Because between their plains will be there, after that you will be getting mountain. So that is what I am saying. And if you look at it, I mentioned about the mountains very clearly, but I didn't mention mostly about the planular regions or Varshas. So between Nishad and Nila, they are calling Ilavrta Varsha. And this Ilavrta Varsha is mentioned as surrounding the Meru region. So if Meru is the Pamir, then the Ilavrta is surrounding it, means exactly your north of Kashmir, like the Central Asia will be there, Ilavrta. And Shweta Varsha is like you have some lakes here, like Balkash Lake, etc. is there. And all these are inhabited regions. This is a Baikal Lake, this is small lake, and Balkash Lake. There are civilizations unearthed from this region, and they are speaking Indo-European languages. We got it actually. So, and
is the Ilavrta Hindu Kush Mountains?
No, actually, we have to consider, like, if there is the narrative of Sanjaya in this particular passage is talking about Ilavrta as a region surrounding the Meru. So if you identify the Meru as the Pamir, then the region surrounding the Meru is here actually. So it is like just north of Kashmir, somewhere like Tajikistan, that region it will be there. So Central Asian countries, they are very small, and they are as small as Kashmir. So if you look at I will talk about later, like the span of Bharata civilization, which is led to the concept of Akhand Bharat. So then it falls into that region. That's what I'm saying. Like currently we have got a territory which is divided, which is very small. But in reality, if I just try to draw this using this particular pointer, this much region, this entire circle, if I put a circle here, is all part of our Bharata Varsha, that influence region. So Central Asia is basically a region which is under the influence of Bharata Varsha. So this is fact. The leftist historian will hide this fact and then try to like create wedge with you, like saying that okay, somebody is coming from the Central Asia, etc. Doesn't have any impact because it is not the Central Asia of today. It is not the ancient Central Asia is definitely the place where the sannyasis were moving around, or Bhrigu, Angiras, all the people move around it, and whatever information you get in the Sanjaya's narrative is an evidence for that. Like we were all moving around in all these regions, including the Airavata, that is Siberia. We were moving around. Otherwise, you cannot get this information. People have to travel. Otherwise, it cannot be mentioned in the geography in any way, in any manner you want. So that is what I am saying. And the Hiranyaka Varsha, if you identify it, it will come somewhere around Mongolia, like because this particular Shweta mountain, that is Altai range, and then the Sayan range are the northern and southern boundaries of the Mongolia, not the current territory. The current territories keep on changing, right? Like the boundaries, you define it based on the political situations, it will change. So, but around in between, you will get that Hiranyaka. And Airavata Varsha is very strong identification. I don't have to speculate for that because there is a lot of information that I will talk about it. That one is the bow-shaped. So anyway, the Asian northern part is bow-shaped. And there is a climatic conditions are mentioned in Airavata in the same place, in the same narrative. It says that it is a very cold place and the sun illuminates very less there. And most of the time, you feel like it is like somewhere in the evening 6 o'clock. It's like a very dim light, etc. So obvious, the kind of you don't have to go around. You don't have to speculate. It is definitely describing this Siberian region because the temperature is mentioned, the dim light, the sunlight is very less. Everything is mentioned in this thing. So here. Sanjaya didn't stop there, and because based on the question from Dhritarashtra, he started talking about Ilavrta in detail. So that is what this particular slide is about. So here he said that in the Ilavrta, that is the Meru region is there, which is the central mountain. There are the entire region which is surrounding the Meru is called Ilavrta. So for example, Kashmir is here just for identification. Kashmir is this is the depression. What you are calling seeing is Kashmir Valley. Maybe I'll just zoom it. Yeah. So you have Kashmir Valley here, and slightly go a little bit top. So you will see the Pamir Knot. Pamir Knot is a geological term because it is like the meeting place of many mountains like Nila, Nishada, Yamakuda. This is the Kailas range I mentioned, and Himalaya. And all of them are meeting together at the Pamir Knot. So this is our identification of this Meru. And you have the Ilavrta Varsha. And here, after defining this, he is saying there are 4 places. To the east of Ilavrta is the Bhadrashva, and to the west is Ketumala. To the south is Jambudvipa, and to the north is Uttarakuru. So here is one of the, Uttarakuru, I will tell, like, there are different narratives of Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Puranas. You can locate Uttarakuru at different places. So I have a slide about that, like how do you handle when you have multiple locations of same place, etc. So there are 2 reasons for that. One is Sanskritan terminologies they will reuse. That is one thing. So I said talk about Gokarna. Gokarna is a place in Karnataka. In ancient time also it was like same name Gokarna. But the Gokarna name can be reused for any place, any region in the world, which is shaped like a ear of a cow. So this is how the Sanskrit terms are coming. So the Uttarakuru term is also like that. One is the different narrative. The narrator or the traveler identified as a different places. That is one thing. Second is the migration. So the theory I am actually subscribing to is that you have the Kuru, original Kuru is there. I'll come to that slide. And from there, the Kurus, just before the Shantanu, Devabi, Baflika, there are 2-3 splits has happened actually. So that at that time, just before, like during the lifetime of Shantanu, the Kuru split into one person, one group went outside. Outside means northwest. So wherever the territory of the Kuru, that is the Kurukshetra, from there the elder son migrated outwards. So Baflika means go outward. Baflika word means go out, basically. So he was anyway. The Mahabharata didn't tell that he was expelled, but the word Baflika means to go out. So there he has to migrate outward. So that means in Mahabharata, if you look at it, the entire narrative, there are multiple passages I have analyzed, the Bahlikas are just near to the Kurukshetra. So they will come somewhere in southern Punjab. The Bahlikas mentioned in the Mahabharata as the cousins of Kauravas and Pandavas. They are very close. But what happens subsequently during the Puranas, various passages in the Puranas, the Bahlikas continuously move outward. They need to stay in the same place, like southern Punjab, which is very close to the Kurukshetra. That was the place where they were living, and they have the kingdom there. Even that is attested in Ramayana narrative also. Bharata's movement from Ayodhya to Kekaya, the location of Baglika is mentioned. It is very close to the Hastinapur. But subsequently they move outwards. They reached farther northwards like Balk. That is how they like in somewhere after hundreds of years they reached Balk. And current Bahlika, people identified with Balk, is because they have migrated to that much point, that much northwest. The direction of migration is northwest. Like Kurukshetra to Punjab is direction is northwestern direction. So they will continuously move in the northwest and finally reach Balk. That is how the migration happened. I have a slide actually, I will reach there. Similarly, Uttara Kuru also, what happens is the Kuru people are there, and their branches will continuously migrate into various places. So wherever the Kuru, the Kuru's northern branches are settling, they will call them as Uttara Kuru. So this particular narrative, there is an Uttara Kuru is one of them. And anyway, this is a prominent one actually, because many of the narrative, if you consider this north of the Pamir as Uttara Kuru, that narrative matches very well. Based I also talk about how do you actually identify the positions of places mentioned in the Ramayana Mahabharata based on relative travel narrative. So there are some techniques used for that. So based on that, if you look at place it here, then the narrative will be clear. And there is another place of Uttara Kuru mentioned is close to Kailasa. So the region close to Kailasa also mentioned as Uttara Kuru. Now why there are two different places is exactly because of the reasons I tell. People settle at different places. And all these things are discussed or defined from the point of view of people living in Hastinapur, most of the narrative. So they define it based on their terms. So that is why, so any of their cousins who are actually going and settling in the north, they are called Uttara Kurus. They will be the place where they settle, they will call it as Uttara Kuru. So you will have multiple number of Uttara Kurus based on how many places they settled. So this is how the place names are coming up. So here actually what I identified is that there are two places, like anyway these particular habitations has to be planar. There should be plains like Ganga, Yamuna, river territories. So that is why the Uttara Kuru, the narrative, it is mentioned they are living in a plain, not in a mountain. So you have to find out where are the plains. So that is why when north of Meru, you see a Pragna valley is there. That is a plain. And if you go further, I have mentioned here, like Alay Valley is there. There is little more northern place. There is another valley. Some people say Central Asia. That is a little problematic because typically people try to identify it with the Central Asian steppes. Yeah, the Aryan invasion theorists will try to do that. And then try to tell you that, okay, in your Puranas, the Uttara Kuru is mentioned. They are considered as better than the Kurus. See, we are identifying Uttara Kuru with the Central Asian steppes. So Aryan invasion theory is correct. Like that, they will try to like argue, and so there are political reasons also. Sometimes you will get the Uttara Kuru, the Aryan invasion theorists will identify it with the Central Asian steppes because they want to prove that the Aryans came from Central Asia. So there are a lot of politics also going on into this. So I am actually telling it in a very clear, because based on my studies, I am saying that without connecting with any politics, Aryan invasion theory politics, I am saying that the Uttara Kuru can be identified in multiple places. A very strong contender place, not contender because it can be it can be multiple places. So the one is the north of the Pamir. Another one is like near to Kailas mountain, because they are also mentioned as Uttara Kuru in this Arjuna's travels. He is saying that he went to first of all he saw the Manasa Saras, Kailas, close to the Kailas, and then he also see the Uttara Kuru there. So Some narrative make it close to the Kailas region also. Manasa Saras also. That is the Manasarovar. And it anyway, other narratives everywhere it mentioned north of Himalayas. So you can go to the north of Himalayas either from Kashmir or from Uttaranchal. So if you go from Uttaranchal, definitely north is in that region only, like Kailas. But from Kashmir, if you go north, it will be like this particular region. So there are that kind of a differences. So the defining verses like this: Dakshinetu Nilasya Meru Parshve Tadottare Uttarakurav. So it has to be to the south of Nila. So Nila mountain, I said here actually it is there, like here Nila mountain. To the south of Nila, and this Meru Parshve Tadottare. It is near to the side of Meru. So it is like it is in the vicinity of Meru and the Nila mountain. So this is how we are able to identify it here actually. And this particular identification is pertaining to this particular narrative of Sanjaya. The travel narratives of Arjuna, you will have a different identification when you traverse through that particular narrative. I will come to that point actually. Yeah, and now here this is like again finally he reaches this particular like what we call Bharata Varsha. Yeah, I think one point I missed. So about this Jambu Dvipa. So you know that this particular Jammu Kashmir state, we call it as Jammu and Kashmir, right? And Jammu is like a prominent part of it. How it has come about? The thing is like the Kashmir Valley, like this is like a kind of a glacier. There was a glacier here in this particular region, a big glacier. And when that glacier, after the ice age, that is 10,000 BC, 15,000 BC to 10,000 BC, the ice started melting. And that ice in this particular region melted and flows Vitasta river. This Kashmir river is there, the main river. So it is here actually. Yeah, Vitasta river is there. So the Vitasta, that entire this particular lake, the glacier got melted and it flows the river, the main river of Kashmir. And this entire this region becomes a livable, habitable place. And here actually that melting of the river, it is symbolically like mentioned as in the Rigveda, there it is mentioned as the Vritra, the slaying of Vritra. And Vritra is mentioned as a serpent. Serpent means like a river flowing through a mountain. It is like a snake, right? So there is, it has got some kind of a geological connotation also. So this, when the ice, these geological phenomena also get recorded into the Vedic literature in some symbolic manner also. So the Indra is mentioned as slaying Vritra, and then the Vritra flow like a, even the word flow is also used, flow like a snake. So it's a snake plus river plus kind of an enemy of Indra also, not like that. So this is the Kashmir region, and towards the south of it, so for a long period of time, like for example, the rishis like Kashyapa, their frame of reference is Kashmir. All the Daitya Danava Rakshasa, this Aditya Daitya Danava Rakshasa, Yaksha Kinnara Gandharva, all this diversification, everything happens in the Kashmir Valley. So the Kashmir Valley is even considered as like your Swarga or the Devaloka. So from that point onwards, anything to the south, they call it as Jambu Dvipa. That is why to the south of Kashmir Valley, you have a remnant of a place name called Jammu. And the name Jambu Dvipa comes in that context. And you see this is a central region, and in equal terms it is mentioning about Jambu Dvipa, Uttarakuru, Bhadrashva and Ketumala. And see the Bhadrashva is the Tarim basin, and the habitations were this green color. Now, this is the place where people were living. The remaining thing is everything desert. Ketumala, basically you have the western part of it, that is the Amudarya river, etc. is there here. So that is here actually. And to the south, you have Jambu Dvipa. So the word Jambu Dvipa comes like this. It is like from this particular Sanjaya narrative, when the entire point of reference was centered around Kashmir or Meru region, we have the 4 divisions. Uttaraguru, Jambudvipa is the southern part, Bhadracha is the eastern, and Ketumala is west. Later on, what happened is the Jambudvipa region, in our Puranas, we started calling it as a bigger entity, and Bharata Varsha become part of it. Bharata Varsha is basically the name given to the Asetu Himachalam. So from the Ramasetu or the Kanyakumari Setu region to Himachalam, Himalayan region, all this we named it as Bharata Varsha. And Jambudvipa word, even though its origin is basically as a region to the south of Meru, that got applied to the Asia. So because that's what I'm saying, in the Sanjaya's original narrative, Asia is not called Jambudvipa. It is not named. It is unnamed and saying that Dvipa with the shape of a rabbit. But later that identification comes. So, but the starting of the name Jambudvipa is here actually. And subsequently, when you have further geographical expansion, when the geographical terms were reshuffled, etc., the word Jambudvipa got associated with the Asian continent, and that is why we have that whenever traditionally when you recite a person's location, they will mention in the world in the Jambudvipa Bharata Varsha, like that it will say. Currently, that is our arrangement. Jambudvipa is a higher entity, and inside that Bharata Varsha. But the origin of Jambudvipa, that is the point I am making, is like this. There was a fourfold division surrounding Meru. From that fourfold division, Jambudvipa is considered a southern region, and the current remnant of that name is Jammu. But subsequently, we have got this new identification. Yeah, and now here comes the Kula Parvatas. So I'll just move faster. So I think because this is maybe a familiar to many of us, starting with the Kula Parvatas. Here the thing is, yeah, you have the 7 Kula Parvatas mentioned. So it is some of things are very clear to you. Mahendra, the same mountain Mahendra is mentioned in Orissa. You can see it, but in the map it is little more. I made it clear because anyway the elevated region are brown in color. So this is the Mahendra mountain to the east. So it is a mountain on the eastern shore. Parashurama is mentioned as doing tapas here. Then you have Malaya mountain. Agastya was mentioned as living here, and it is the southern part of the west, whatever we call as Western Ghats. And there is a break here. This is the Palghat Pass, and to the south of the Palghat Pass, there is this mountain is called the Malaya mountain, and it is a very tall mountain. After the Himalayas, the tallest peak you can find in Malaya mountain. The Anamudi is there, and Agastya is very active in this region. And after the Palghat Pass, there is this mountain ranges from here to here in the Western Ghats. This is the identified Sahya mountain. And the most confusing part is this region, because currently the geographers call Vindhya mountain, means they will count from here to here everywhere. This entire central Indian mountain is called Vindhya range in the current school books. Everywhere it is mentioned like that. But in the Puranas, there was in the Puranic and Mahabharata Ramayana, there is difference. Only the central part is called the Vindhya range. And to the west, it is called Pariyatra mountains. And to the east, it is called Riksha mountain. That is there in the Jharkhand, currently in Jharkhand region. And anyway, you know that this is the Ganga river, and the southernmost kingdom or Janapada in the Ganga Valley, Ganga Yamuna Valley is a Chedi mountain. And to the south of Chedi, you have a mountain ranges. People will see a mountain range at the south of Chedi. And anybody in Ganga River Valley, they never see any mountains because it is a plain. But only in Chedi, to the southern boundary of Chedi, you will start seeing mountains. That is why this particular mountain has given a particular name, Shuktimat, and that is considered as a Kula Parvata. Otherwise, currently, if you look at the map of India, we will wonder why this particular small strip of mountain, this range, which is not a very big height, it is not a height, not a big mountain, but it still is counted as a Kula Parvata. The reason is because of that. Because things are discussed from the point of view of the people living in the Ganga River Valley. So they consider it as very significant because this is the first mountain they will see. when they travel south. But we travel maybe a little more faster. So this is my compilation of the rivers. Rivers like I mentioned in Mahabharata. So you can look at the kind of information density. As many a total of 150 rivers are mentioned. I have identified a few of them. The entire 150 rivers are not mentioned in this map. And this is the river map of India. Bharata Varsha I have published it. So the Kaveri is there, Tamrapanni, Venna is there. That is this same name it is still holding actually.
Venna, it's called Venna now.
Yes, Venna is there and Krishna Venna is there. Here it is there. Pampa river currently called Tungabhadra. And as I said, like the names start shifting. Currently, the Pampa river is given to the small river here near to Shabarimala also. Right? And this river is now popularly called Tungabhadra. But even there is a lake, and in that the Pampa name is still retaining. Then here Bhimarati, Godavari, then Shabari river is there here. Indravati is there. Say exactly the same name it is mentioned in Mahabharata Ramayana. The Tapati, Varada, and Vaiganga, Narmada, the Chipra is there. This river is very difficult to identify. So the Payoshnee river, actually, some people say that there was another river which has disappeared. So there is a little difficulty in identification of this river. This is the Luni river, Levanavati. Then you have Parnasha and Chambal river, that is Charmanvati, and then Betwa, that is the Vetravati. Then Shuktimati is there. So this is the Shuktimat mountain we have seen, and the river starting from here is called Shuktimati. Then Hiranyavaha and Shona is there, where Vishwamitra and Rama they killed Tataka and lived in Shittasam. All this happened here. Then you have Sarayu river here, somewhere here Ayodhya is there, and Gomati, Ganga, Yamuna, then Rishadvati is there, Saraswati, Shatadru, Vipasha, Iravati. Here Sindhu, Chandravaga is currently it is called Chena. And then Vitasta is there, and Vipasha is there, that is Bias. Shatadru is Satlaj, Iravati is Ravi. All this is Sadanira, currently it is same name it is found. Gandaki is there, Kaushaki and Karatoya is there. And this is the easternmost river mentioned, Lohitya, because the name Brahmaputra is not very popular in Veda Itihasa Puranas. Especially in Mahabharata and Ramayana, Brahmaputra river name is not there. It's called Lohitya because of the red color in the water. And then Vaitarani is there here, Brahmani, Vaitarani, and Rishikali, that is Kalinga rivers. And Vaitarani is considered as the southern boundary of Aryavarta. Because for some point of time, this Kuru Brahmanas will not travel beyond the Vaitarani. This is mentioned in the Arjuna's travels, it is mentioned. They stop here and Arjuna continuously travel to the south. All these things are mentioned. And now this is like the low resolution map of the Janapadas. So here also I'm just this slide. It is actually work of several years. This entire names of kingdoms we have extracted from the Mahabharata actually. So around 250 kingdom. And the way I'm saying is currently there are 739 districts and 28 states in India. And you have it somewhere in between, like the density is somewhere in between the district and the state. So typically what I'm saying is the entire Bharata Varsha is divided into Janapadas, and the density, if you look at it, it was very similar to the district level density, like maybe 2 or 3 districts, one Janapada, like that. Sometimes 10 districts will become much larger. Janapadas will be like some 10 districts will be there. Like that. So if you look at it here, I have water white colored is all kingdoms. And if you have some size differences, that is because the prominence. So for example, in the south, the Pandya Chola Kerala is prominently mentioned. Lanka is mentioned. Of course, it is the main in Ramayana, but in Mahabharata, plenty of time Lanka is mentioned. And this is what I always, in all the talks I will tell, the Dravida word. So the Dravida, many times in Mahabharata and Ramayana, it is used to define a distinct kingdom, not just defining a group of people. It is mentioned to define a distinct Janapada, because the verses will read like Kerala, Chola, Pandya, Dravida. So it is not like saying that Kerala, Chola, Pandya, all Dravidas, but it is separate distinct entity is mentioned. And this particular difference you can also see because when you talk about Dravida Brahmanas or some surnames, etc., you can see these are distinct place or a distinct region and distinct people actually. And of course, there is other. There are some passages which actually use it as a collective name. Dravida is used a collective name for Kerala, Chola, Pandyas. That is also there. And but this is not something very very specific. What the reason I am saying is, you look at this name, Bahlika. So this Bahlika I have defined based on the information in Mahabharata, like from whenever it talks about Arjuna traveling, or Somadatta, Bhurisravas, the people, the kings who are living in Bahlika, the cousins of the Gurus, they will come to Hastinapur for discussions, etc. So I look at I also look at the narrative and how much time they are taking to come and etc. So this is like this is not in bulk. This Bahlika has to be very close to the Kurukshetra, and so many other narratives like travel narratives of Arjun, and then the during the Kurukshetra war starting, the people start assembling. There is some narrative about it, and the Sanjaya's narrative about multiple Janapadas. So many, some 10 different places the references are there. Then Ramayana also, Bahlika is mentioned in the travel of Bharata from this Kosala to Kekeya. So Bahlika is mentioned. So looking at all the references, we cannot identify it in bulk. The Bahlika of Mahabharata Ramayana has to be very close to the Kuru Rashtra. So that is why this identification, it is somewhat very close to the mountains. There is some small kingdoms, Kulinda, etc., mentioned as a neighborhood of the Bahlika. And Kulinda is somewhere in the Himachal Pradesh. So all these things combined, if you look at Bahlika is here. And what I am saying is that this Bahlika word is used as a distinct Janapada and also to denote this many number of kingdoms. Gandhara, Kekeya, Madra, Trigarta, all these things, kingdoms are together called Bahlikas. So then you understand, right? So there is a big learning from that. So one thing maybe is like that the Bahlikas are actually the people who went outside of Kuru, go out, Bahlika. And these people are all somehow connected with the people who are migrating outward. So that is what the out of India theory that Srikant Talagiri has proposed, and it has one of the big scholarship that is refuting the in Aryan innovation theory. So there is definitely in Rigveda itself, there is a concept of migration from the northwest of India to this Central Asia and Europe. And that telltale signs also seen in Mahabharata, because this entire tribe, this many number of tribes, they are called the Bahlikas. So I'll show you. Yeah, this entire region, the Gandharas, Kekayas, Madras, all together, the Trigartas also sometimes fall into it. Sometimes Kambojas fall into that as a Bahlika. And they are also called Arata. I mean, Arashtra means they don't have a proper king kind of a concept. That is very clear, because for example, you will know that Shakuni was living with Gandhari in Hastinapur, and Shakuni's father was living in the Gandhara. And we always say the Gandhara king Shakuni, Gandhara king Shakuni, but he is not living in his kingdom because there he is coming. He is living in Hastinapur. So this is all possible because this particular kingdom or Janapadas had some kind of a democratic concept actually. So the king, the hereditary king may not be ruling there. It may be like some chiefs are ruling it. All these things are possible actually. And so the reason I'm saying is I'm comparing Dravida with the Bahlika, because they are same. The Dravida word is used for denoting these many kingdoms and also as a distinct entity. Same way the Bahlika is used to denote all this and as a distinct entity here. So that is how this we have to identify it that way. And then your entire Aryan innovation theory concepts that they say that the Aryans started attacking Dravidians, and that just becomes just a fable, because there is no meaning to it. There no way you can connect it with our Veda Idihasa Purana narrative. It's just like you can say a plank to distract your attention that has been created. That is very clear from this, even from all this information. That is what the point I want to make. So maybe I'll just pass through all of this. So in the south, these are the main thing. And you have smaller kingdoms mentioned in this region, like Kollagiri is there. Sahadeva is mentioned as defeating this kingdom. And you have Mahishaka, and you know Mysore, the word Mysore comes from Mahishaka, short form, like it's like a aberration of the Mahishaka word. And there is a slide to the west, Mushika is there. So this is all like the very closeness of the words you see. Anyway, the meanings are very different. Mahishaka means this yak, buffalo, and Mushika means rabbit, this rat. But actually, if you look at the original Sanskrit derivations, it could be a tribal or it can be family split, etc. So, but because of some reasons, the names gets a different pronunciation and a different meaning. That is possible. And Gomanta, you can identify it as Goa. Then Konkana is Konkan, and then you have this Surparaka, that is Sopar. Surashtra is Surat. Then you have Belirashtra. So the Belirashtra is basically, if you look at the Vamana Purana and the narrative of Vamana and Mahabali, the original kingdom of Mahabali is mentioned as on the banks of Narmada river. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and it shows the migration patterns. So all the narrative, if you look at anywhere, the Mahabali is not mentioned as ruling from Kerala. Mahabali is always mentioned as ruling from Narmada River Valley. And there is another valley, he was in this region. So that is another interesting point. I will discuss it later. But our specific Mahabali, who is having an interaction with the Vamana, is mentioned as living on the ruling from this Narmada River Valley. And you should know that Narmada is one of the oldest civilization. Before the Saraswati River Valley civilization started emerging from 7000 BC, you had a civilization in Narmada River that was 10,000 BC, etc. There was a civilization there. So that is something connecting to our historical data information. Our archaeology and historical information are connected here. And very interesting thing actually. So, and even in as per our tradition also, Mahabali is very old. And he definitely lived before Rama. So it all matching up. And Bhrigu, that is Braj. The Mahabali's priest is Bhrigu, like Bhargava Shukra. So Bhrigukacha is also on the banks of Narmada. So now everything matches up to this Narmada region. That is why it is identified as Belirashtra. Now what happened, like why the people of Kerala are celebrating Mahabali is because the current dominant people of Kerala might have migrated from here. So they brought this entire tradition to Kerala, and now in their consciousness, Beli is the king of Kerala. So this is how migrations are playing impacting our traditions actually. And this also solved one big puzzle actually. So many people have asked me, like Parashurama came and throw the axe and then brought Kerala from the sea. But as per our Avatara, if you look at the sequence of Avatara, Mahabali was ruling from Kerala. So which Kerala he was ruling? So this is the answer, because these all traditions are created based on some historical sequences. So definitely Mahabali has to be considered as older than Parashurama, and he cannot live in Kerala. So basically Beli lived here. That is anyway geographically it is clear where Mahabali was here on the banks of Narmada. And after that, sometime Parashurama was there. After Mahabali's rule was over, so many years elapsed, and then Parashurama born, and Parashurama came, and then he defeated a lot of rulers. That is what he killed Kshatriyas. So that means that the existing rulers, he fought with the existing rulers, and many of them were killed. And whatever land he got, he gave to Kashyapa. So the throwing of axe, you have to consider it as a symbolic, he is getting that, conquering the lands. So that happened later. So there is no contradiction. Mahabali lived, and that was in Balirashtra in the Narmada River Valley. After that, Parshurama came, conquered these regions, and give it to Kashyapa. All this happened, and then migration of the people from this Narmada to Kerala has come, and then the tradition of Mahabali ruling from Kerala started. So there are no contradiction if you look at from the geographical point of view. This is how many of the puzzles also we can solve it. And you have this big kingdom called Anartha. When many people don't know, it is the entire the peninsula region of Gujarat is called that. And Dwaraka is identified here. And definitely, like if you look at that entire narrative, so many people say, no, ask me, why you identify Dwaraka here? Dwaraka can be identified here, Prabhas. So the answer is that Dwaraka is basically, it is like a seafaring kingdom, or a seafaring. The main revenue for Dwaraka, even if you look at Mahabharata, Krishna's Dwaraka, the revenue comes from sea trade. So it is like there was an island here, and which was submerged, and it was Dr. Asarao and a team has unearthed it. There was a city located, dated to 1500 BC, and pottery at 3200 BC. That is there. And but they ruled this entire coastal region. So you have the people problem solved for people. So you can identify here Dwaraka here, because this the entire region, like because I have studied it, this entire coastal region from here to up to here, this Gomanta, this was in the control of the Krishna's Dwaraka, and this entire coastal, and I think it doesn't stop here. It continues to the this entire region, like entire sea coastal region. The reason is because there was a conflict of Pandya and Dwaraka. There was a battle between Pandya king Malayadhwaja and Krishna's Yadava army. And Pandya king got defeated, but he after the advice of so many other people, he identified Krishna as a great leader, and he became friends with Krishna. And because of that, during Kurukshetra war, the Pandyas, under Malayadhwaja, went to the Pandavas, as the army was given to the Pandavas, and Malayadhwaja fought for the Pandavas. And all the Kerala Chola are mentioned as fighting for the Pandava side. And all because of the alliance of Krishna with the Pandya. And so the reason I'm saying is because they have a kind of a territorial conflict, because the Dwaraka is, they started controlling the coastal territory, and when they reached here, they had a conflict. That is why they had a fight, and finally they became friends, and then supported the Pandavas actually. So if I talk, I can talk for more than an hour. So there are this Kunti is there, which is the a maternal kingdom of the Pandavas. The name Kunti actually coming from the kingdom actually, just like Panchali is actually the Panchala word. Now it comes from the kingdom of the Panchali. So actually the name of mother of the Pandavas is Pritha, and Panchali's name, the Panchali definitely is the name of the kingdom. So the queen from Panchala is Panchali, and because she is the daughter of Drupada, she is called Draupadi. And just like Krishna of Dwaraka, she is maybe darkish in color. I mean, it is not black, dark color, means compared to other princes, she is darker, so she is called Krishna. So this is the names. And then you have Kuru here, Bahlika I explained, then Trikarta is a kingdom that fought with Matsya here. And in between there is a Kamika Dvaita forest where the Pandavas lived in Vanvas. And Kuru Jangala is there, part of it was set on fire to create an Indraprasth. Then Kekaya is there, Madra is there, all this Gandhara is there. So Shakuni come from here. Kekaya, Kaikeyi come from here to Kausala as a princess. Madra is the kingdom of Shalya, the uncle of Nakula Sahadeva, and his sister Madri is wedded to Pandu. And Jayadratha is here, Sindhu, Naresh. He also mentioned as conquering Savira and Shivi. So this entire this region, what is now currently called Indus Valley, that region was under control of Jayadratha actually. And Shivi is a small kingdom which is close to the mountain ranges. It is mentioned in Mahabharata as a mountainous kingdom. And very interesting thing is the Shivi king is also mentioned as an Indra, and so he is also mentioned as living as a very in a prosperous city, etc. And this is very important because it was this entire this region is the Indus Valley region with so many cities. So it could be even possible that the city of Sivi is basically the one of the Harappan cities. And you have Shedi here, the Sharna, and Vatsa, Kashi Kosala. So the this Kosala is anyway Rama's territory, but to the south of it is Kashi. In Ramayana, it is Kashi is mentioned as a nation, kingdom of a friend of Pradardhana, the friend of Rama. And in Mahabharata, Kashi is the place from where the Princess Amba, Ambika, Ambalika were taken by Bhishma, and they were the grandmothers of the Pandavas and Kauravas. That anybody Then Magadha is where the Jarasandha was living. He was like a big threat for all the Kurus, and then that is why Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima, three people, made a strategy and killed Jarasandha in Magad, so that this entire region becomes like free of his control, and the Yudhishthir could do the Rajasuya sacrifice. And you have a Dakshina Kosala here, currently identified as Chhattisgarh, and your Kalinga is there. So Rama's travel from Kosala to this from like this, he actually went to his mother's kingdom. Maybe because of the rule of Vanvas, he didn't go there. I mean, he didn't went to any palace, but he comes to the Dandakaranya, and then like that is went to the Lanka actually. I will have a slide about it. So this is a this map is like a low resolution map, and you have this is a detailed map. So the detailed map means along with the kingdom or Janapada, you will have the city names. So maybe I'll run through it for a very fast. You have Gandhara, the capital is Pushkalavati, and Takshashila and Pushkalavati, two Gandhara cities. Kamboja, you have Rajapura, and then Kashmir is there here. And these are other kingdoms visited by Arjuna. Yeah, definitely, even China is also mentioned. China, the word used is China. I mentioned as neighborhood of Loha. Loha is a Leh city now currently in the Ladakh. The Rishikas and Daradas are the other two kingdoms. So Rishika is basically female rishis. It is also famous as Skrirajya and such names. Then you have Kekaya. Kekaya's city is Girivraja capital. So it is mentioned predominantly in Ramayana. Then Kamboja city capital Rajapura is mentioned. Two cities of Kamboja is defeated by Arjuna. One is Simhapura and another is Rajapura. Then Sakala is the capital of Madra. Trigarta's capital Prasthala, that is Jalandhar. And you have all the rivers here: Sindhu, Vitasta, Iravati, Shatatru. And then this is the Vrishadharmapura is the capital of Sindhu, and Rauruga is the capital of Sauvira. And you have Marubhumi here. It is exactly mentioned as Marubhumi, and Salva is Matsya is there. There are three Salvas actually. The only two I have identified. And Matsya is there. Kuru Panchala. You have Indraprastha, Hastinapura, and Kurukshetra here. The Panchala cities, Ahichatra and Kambilya. All of them unearthed by Dr. B.B. Lal, our archaeologist. Then you have a kingdom called Kanyagupsha, that is Kanauj. And between the Panchala and Kosala, you have Naimisharanya. This is where Mahabharata narrative that Ugrasava Sauti gave to Shaunaka happened here. And Kosala is there, and you have main cities Ayodhya, Sravasti ruled by Lava, Kushavati ruled by Kusha, and then Mithila is here. And Kashi, Varanasi as the capital, and Vatsa kingdom, Kaushambi. So this Indraprastha, this Hastinapura, when it is flooded, the entire Bharata Kuru lineage, they started living, ruling from Kaushambi. So you have that Kalidasa Kavyas where they are ruling from the Kaushambi actually. Then the Chitrakuta is here actually, like if anybody, like it's a in Ramayana talk I can discuss about them. Girivraja, that is the capital of Magadha, is there. Champapuri, capital of Anga, is there. Then Pundranagari, Vanga, that city is called Samudrapuri. And you have Mlachas. That Mlachas are basically seafaring kingdoms which are having a trade relationship with faraway countries. So you have it in this eastern side in Bangladesh, as well as here in the western side in the like Pakistan actually. So these kingdoms were completely non-Vedic. They were not following any Vedic tradition. That is why it's called Mlechas. And then you have Kalinga somewhere to the south of the Aryavarta, the Dakshina Kosala and Vidarbha is there. Here, Heya, Mahishmati, this Rajamouli's famous movie. He used the word Mahishmati, but it is a capital of Heya kingdom along the banks of Narmada. And the same Mahishmati, you have Kartavira Arjuna who defeated Ravana. Then this is the Prithu Kaksha, that is Braj I mentioned. The Bhargava Shukracharya's place, who was the priest of Mahabali. So all these things you can see here. And the southern part of it, you have Dandakaranya here, and then Kalinga, Antraga is there. This name is very ancient, mentioned in Mahabharata. Dravida and Kanchi region is mentioned in Mahabharata. Chola is there. Kaveripura city name is not there, but it is like mentioned as a city on the banks of Kaveri. And then Lankapuri is there. Then this is very interesting because this is there in Tamil Sangan text. The Kavata is there. Kavata is some similar to Dwaraka. Dwaraka means entrance. Kavata means entrance. So basically, one of my theories is that the civilization, when it is 10,000 BC, the Ice Age, your sea level was much more lower than today. So you will have kingdoms, the habitations and cities, etc., which is currently under the sea. So you can see here actually, this is a shallow sea. So when the sea level is low, at some point of time, you will have land masses here actually. Here also you will have land masses. And sometimes because of some random events, the sea level will rise. So sea level rise is a gradual, nobody have to fear about it, but sometimes it will be dramatic. Suddenly one city will start submerged. That is what happened in Dwaraka here actually. So similarly, there was some southern city of the Pandyas got submerged. And people will be like, what will people do? They will go and jump into the boats, or some other people will start swimming. So suddenly they will try to go to the nearest land, and they will have to enter into some other part. So that is what see here actually it is called Kavata. So all the people who are escaping from flood will pass through this Kavata and then reach here. Here in Dwaraka, it is also. So anyway, you don't have to go with the theory of submergence, but it simply means the entrance. So if for example, because this Kavata, apart from this, there is another Kavata mentioned here in Ramayana, which is the entrance to the Pandya kingdom. And that Kavata is basically, you can see if you look at the map, between two mountains there is a pass similar to this Palghat pass. But it is a very small pass here. This resolution you cannot see it. You have to go to higher resolution, you will see it. So between two mountains, there is a pass that is a flat terrain through which you can enter the Pandya territory. So that is called Kavata. So the word Kavata, it is a Sanskrit term similar to Dwaraka, which means entrance. It could be entrance from sea to the land or some other northern region to your particular territory. And the Patana is also mentioned because this is now 2000 up to 2000 BC settlements. Everything is now identified in this region, and this is currently the Kodungalur, Kochi region. And you have Vanchi as the city of the Cheras. Kerala and Chera both are same. And the Kollagiri is this Erimala, the Mahishaka, Mysore, all these things. And this is a little more detailed map. So I am saying is that there are two level details we have found, and this is a little detailed map I have created for the Kuru Rashtra. All these maps I have created. All the maps in this particular presentation I have created actually. So you can see here a little more detail the Drishadvati river, Dvaitavana and Kamyakavana, and some of the things that we have discussed in the very beginning. This very detailed Hastinapura is there. Pramana Kodi is here actually where the Duryodhan tried to poison Bhima. Then Parikshit Gar is there, and there is places mentioned for Maya and then Parashurama, then Vyakra Prastha. Some cities like Kushasthali, Vrkasthali, then there are five towns which Yudhishthira asked from Duryodhana to avoid the Kurukshetra war. You can see that. I think it is some other map I have not noted. It is like Kushasthalam, Vrkasthalam, Ashandivat, like that. Some Varanavati, Asandivat. So these are the and then Indraprastha. Like that, they have mentioned some cities. So Varanavati is their current. One of the identification is Barnava. That I have identified in this map. It is Barnava. So Kushasthali, Vrkasthali, Asandivat is somewhere here actually. I think I have not brought that map here. Then you have Varanavati and any other. So the 4 cities mentioned, and then one more any of the thing that Duryodhana likes. Like that, there is a famous version Mahabharata. So that places I have plotted. And you have the pilgrimage places here like Brahmasaras, Jyotisaras, Kapila Tirtham, Vyasasthali, Koti Tirtham, Phalgu Tirtham, and Brahmayoni, Saptasaraswata, Brahmavarta, and Gandharva Tirtham. And the place of Nachiketas is there. Then Tarantuga is here actually. It is one of the boundary of the Kurukshetra. The Shadravati river is here. Kurukshetra is there. So all these things you can actually go in any number of detail. Like you have the Virata Nagari is here, then Bairat, and then Upaplavya is there, and Sali Bhavana. This is one place Krishna visited during the peace mission. So Krishna was starting from here, and then like this, he's Vrkasthali he stopped, and then finally come to Hastinapur. That is all mentioned in very detailed in the Mahabharata. Then Kampilya and Ahicchatra, 2 cities of Panjala. Mathura, Vrindavana, this Govardhana, all these things of Surashena kingdom of Krishna's native place. All these things are there. Now this is from here onwards. What I'm talking about is like things are not static. Like people will be moving around these cities, these kingdoms and Janapadas, and the kingdoms themselves will move. Because when you have thousands of years, one location of the Janapadas will start moving. Just like I mentioned, Beliratra, people of Beliratra moved to Kerala to give the Aitihim of Mahabali in Kerala, the Onam celebration, etc. So similarly, people move. And there is also travel narratives of individuals like Arjuna and Bhima, Nakula, Sahadeva. All these people started moving around. So that is what I am talking about now. First is the Pandu Digvijaya. So this is one of the earliest travel narrative mentioned in Mahabharata. The Pandus start from Kuru and then goes to Panjala, then Dasharna and Kunti. He marries Kunti from here, and then he goes to Kashi, Videha, Anga, and Punta. All the kingdom he conquered. And after that, he went to Manvas. Then Bhima Arjuna Digvijaya is mentioned. Like after the military education from Drona, Bhima and Arjuna, 2 people only, 2 warriors went to Sindhu and then Gandhara. They defeated all these places. Then Varanavata to Ekachakra, like when the Duryodhan tried to burn them in House of Lak, due to the intelligence of Vidura, they escaped and then they went like this. Here he married this Rakshasa. This is the region where Kadapkaja was born from Hidimba. They killed Hidimba and then married Hidimba, got a son. Then they went to travel to this Matsya and finally reached in the boundary of Panchala. They reached a city called Ekachakra. Then Arjuna's Tirtha Yatra. This is also very clear. Like there was a rule that when the Panchali is living with the 5 husbands, one husband should not see the other while this in a year. But there was some unfortunate break in that, and Arjuna had to do a penance, and he went in a pilgrimage. He went like this. He went to Kalinga and then Gokarna. This is the Gokarna I mentioned, like the other famous Gokarna, and then he went to Dwaraka and married Subhadra and went here. Yeah, of course, like when he was here near to Himalaya, he married Ulupi, the Airavata Naga king. So this Airavata is basically coming from the river Iravati. So when I talked about the Varshas, I forgot to tell about it. The original name Airavata is a derivative of the name Iravati. Iravati is the river, the Ravi river. So the people of this particular name, when the people migrated from here to north, they give that region also the same name. Similar, like today also, if somebody Americans goes to Mars and settle, make a colony in Mars, planet Mars, most likely they will name some region as America. Now, like that is the same way. These people of Airavati, the Airavata Nagas, when they went to the Siberia, they give that Airavata name there. So one of the Airavata Naga was here, and the son of that Naga is Ulupi. So Arjuna marries the Airavata Naga Ulupi. Finally, he goes to Kalinga, here a city called Manipura. So here also migration plays a big role. The city of Manipura is mentioned as a Kalinga city very clearly in Mahabharata. But what happens is that later the people of this Manipura city, it is a seafaring kingdom. Their wealth is coming from sea trade, just like Dwaraka. They migrated to the northeast, and in the Manipur state, they had that settlement, and finally the state got that Manipura name. But the actual city, very clearly Mahabharata mentioned it is a Kalinga city. And Yudhishthira's Tirtha Yatra here. So that is happens like when doing the Vanvas, like Dvaitavana, when they were leaving. Arjuna went for a big tapas in Kailas. So unable to see Arjuna, the Yudhishthira become very sad. So the rishis like Laumasha and Pulastya and Dhaumya, their Kula group, all them advised them to do a pilgrimage. So he went along like this, he went the entire circuit of Bharata Varsha. So that concept of Bharata Varsha is very clear at that time. That is what another indication. So they went here like along with the Ganga river. Finally, the eastern coast they traversed. There are idioms of Pandavas coming to Kerala, etc. So I can tell it. It is in my upcoming book. I have detailed it in much more higher level. They went to like this. Finally, met Krishna here, and after there is the famous Samvada of Draupadi and Satyabhama. All this happened. Finally, they returned back to Saraswati River and Dvaita. So this is happening. There is another Jarasandha from Kuru. They went to the Magadha, passing through Kosala, Videha, and Malla Rashtra's. That is 3 people. That is Arjuna and Bhima and Krishna. That is here. Then Arjuna Digvijaya. So this is a big here. Arjuna. So this is Arjuna Digvijaya. So Arjuna starts and then travels in the northern direction, and finally reaches this territory. Finally, he is somewhere around here. He is seeing the Uttara Guru. That's what is another reason why there is another Uttara Guru near to the Kailas. It is mentioned. And Bhima similarly went from eastern direction. So he went like this, defeating the Surasena, Dasharna, Chedi, Vatsa, Kashi, Gosala, Videha, and all this, and finally reaches Laukitya here after defeating all these kingdoms. Nagula Digvijaya. So Nagula went to the western direction. So he is traversing the Uttarapatha. So I forgot to tell, like this Kekeya, Madra Trikarta, Pahlika, Kuru Panjala, Kosala, Videha, maybe up to Anga, even to Anga. This was the earlier the Uttarapatha. This was a wealth route, similar to Silk Route. There are some like sea trade happens here. The sea trade, all the goods pass through like this through these kingdoms, and here it goes, and then so this is the Uttarapatha route through which the wealth travels from west west to east to west and west to east. The things are goods are exchanged in this route, and Hastinapur and Indraprastha are all falling in this sea trade. That is where they become very wealthy. That is another. And then you have Sadev. So Sadev is the youngest Pandava. A lot of people are very sad. There is not much described about Sadev in Mahabharata, but it's not true. Sadev is like traveling to the south, and if you look at the map, he has conquered most of the territories of Bharata Varsha. He went here like here, like defeating Avanti, Haiheya, all these kingdoms. Kishkinda is mentioned one territory that Sadev is defeating. So Kishkinda is there in Mahabharata also, like in Ramayana. And he comes to Kerala and defeats Mushika, Kollagiri, Mahishaka, and it is mentioned all the Pandya Kerala Chola is getting tribute, and Andraga, Kalinga, and finally he reaches Vanga, and then he is saying he is sending messengers to Lenga. So that is also another thing I highlight in many of the talks. Why he didn't choose to send messengers from here? The reason is Vanga and Lenga are connected actually, because there was some sea trade going on between. So Sahadeva is able to send a messenger from Vanga to Lenga through sea trade. so that he'll get tribute from Lanka. And even today, historically, if you look at the Sinhala language, it has the highest connection with the Bengali language. The Indo-European Sinhala language, very closely related to the Bengali actually. Because there is a like connections are coming in the historical. So just one slide about Ramayana because now this Ayodhya things are happening. So you see the one of the bigger narrative in Ramayana is this Ayodhya Kamasrama Mithila circuit. That is Vishwamitra takes Rama and he with the help of which Rama he Tataka is killed. Siddhasrama that in the Shwan river the Siddhasrama is there. Yajna is completed successfully. Then he took him to Videha in Mithila. He marries Sita and from there he returns back to Kausala after encountering Parashurama. Then Bharata is traveling. Bharata first went to the Kekeya, his maternal uncle's kingdom. Then when Dasharatha died, messengers goes like this. In there, interestingly, it is mentioning Panjala, Kuru. This Bahlika is mentioned in that narrative. Hastinapur is mentioned, and then the rivers like Vipash is mentioned, and finally reaches the kingdom Kekeya with this Raja Giriv Raja as the capital. And here Bharata also returns back, and the narrative is mentioned here. So there is a corroboration, like the geography is corroborated. Mahabharata geography is corroborated in Ramayana also. And then Rama's travel. So this particular map, when I show, people will ask what happened to the Nasik somewhere here. So if you look at Ramayana narrative, there is no way, I mean, the entire narrative, it is impossible for the Rama to travel in a western direction. The only place Rama is traveling in western direction is from Panchavati when he was searching for Sita. That time only there is any reference of traveling in a little bit western direction. And he is went to Kishkinda. So that is why I have identified the matter of pride for many of the listeners here. I have identified Panchavati with the Parnashala, which is close to Bhadrachalam in Telangana. So that is the correct identification possible based on the Valmiki Ramana narrative. From there he travels and then he defeated not defeated, but he encounters the Kavandha. Up to that point he travels south. So after that he travels westwards and then reaches the Tungabhadra, that is the Pampa river, and see the Shabari there, and then the Hanuman, he sees this Hanuman for the first time, and Sugriva, and then the Bali Sugriva fight happens. And with the help of Sugriv, he goes down like this and reaches Pandya is mentioned very clearly. And he makes a Setu here, Rama Setu, and then reaches Lanka here. Yeah, this is now only few slides. So the migration of Janapadas, I have hinted it before. So now you have seen some dynamics in the sense that travelers are traveling. Like in Mahabharata, the 5 Pandavas travels, Pandu is traveling, and there are so many sages also traveling. Because of the limited time, I have not used that slide. Lomasha and Dhaumya and Pulastya, Agastya, all these people are traveling. The narratives are mentioned in Mahabharata. In Ramayana, primarily Bharata and Shatrughna and Lakshman, Rama, Sita, all people are traveling, and the travel narratives are mentioned. This one is different, the migration of Janapada itself. So this will make things very clear. The reason is because you see the Salva name is here, there is Salva, here is Salva, here is Salva. The reason is that when during the period of Jarasandha, there was a lot of push happened to various kingdoms. And there is a very clear passage which says that Salva migrated to the east and started living close to the Matsyas. Like that it is mentioned, because of the fear of Jarasandha. And you know that because of Jarasandha, so this is Salvas again migrated north. Because of fear of Jarasandha, you know that Yadavas migrated from Suryasena. That is, Krishna is in Mahabharata and also in Mahabharata, Harivamsha, Vishnu Purana, everywhere it is mentioned. Krishna moved from Suryasena to Dwaraka because of Jarasandha. And similarly, Salvas migrated from here, somewhere close to Kashi, to very close to Matsya. Here, southern and northern Salvas are there. Finally, they are also mentioned in Madra region. So you will always see the Salva Madras mentioned as a couple, Salva Madra, because Salva and Madra are neighbors. you will also see Salva Matsya. Salva and Matsya kingdoms are neighbors. And you will also see in the narrative of Amba, like Bhishma, when he is abducting this Amba, Ambika, Ambaliga, three princesses from Kashi. Amba is in love with Salva. So how is it possible? Because Amba is not in love with the Salva of this Madra neighbor, nor with any of the Salvas. The Amba of Kashi, the Kashi princess Amba, was having a love affair with this Salva, who was living close to Kashi and Magadha. So this is how geography makes this narrative very clear. Similarly, Yadava migration I have mentioned, and there are other migrations mentioned, like Panchalas also started moving from one place to another, from here to here. Here Panchala migrated. Earlier they were here somewhere north of the Kuru. From there they went to south of Kuru, and later the Panchalas also went to here close to Kunti. And the Bharatas, that is the original Mahabharata heroes, they because of fight with Panchala, Samvarana, one of the king of the Bharata, migrated from Kuru to Sindhu region. It's very surprising. And currently, if you look at the Indus Valley, the Sindhu Saraswati or Harappan civilization, you will see the older cities in Tirana, etc., and then Rakhigarhi, and some other cities here. Mohenjo-daro also is here in Sindhu region. So this it is matching up with our archaeology and real history. And you have Andhra migration. So Andhras were somewhere here close to Surasena, and now you are here seeing them here. Because Andhra, there is some connection with the Anthaga tribe. The other tribes are three. One is Vrishni, Anthaga, and Bhoja. So from the Anthaga, there is some variation and then become Anthaga like that. There is a theory like that. Then Bahlika migration. Bahlikas are migrating, that is here actually. So this is what I've said, like the Bahlikas mentioned in the Mahabharata period, they are very close to Kurus, somewhere to the neighborhood of Trigarta, and there is one kingdom called Pulinda here, mountainous country. From there they move to Balk later. That is what historically the Balk kingdom in the northwest is identified. Then Gandharas also migrated like that. Kandahar is somewhere here in Afghanistan, but in Mahabharata, whatever Gandhara is there, the cities are Takshashila and Pushkalavati, definitely Pakistan, not Afghanistan. But they later migrated one branch. All dynasties start splitting. One dynasty, one sibling branch goes to Afghanistan, and their Kandahar, that name comes in Afghanistan. So similarly, I think this would be the last slide. You will have see genesis of Janapadas. So there are a lot of mention of new kingdoms, how they are emerging. So one of them is the Sivi. Here the Sivi is there. Sivi is one of the oldest Indras, because Indra is a title name. I think people will be knowing about it. So different people will get the title Indra. So Devaraja Indra is not the same person, but multiple people. So at one point of time, Shivi king was the Indra. And another point of time, Nahusha, one of the ancestor of Pandavas, was the Indra. And he was demoted into a Naga, because he misbehaved with sages, many learned men. Then Nahusha, because of his ego, Ahankara, he was demoted, and he is no longer Indra. Similarly, Shivi was Indra at one point of time. And this region is very important because this is one of the regions of the beginning of the Indus Valleys, this Harappan civilization, the Mehragar, the village settlements, etc. started from this region. And the Sivi give rise to 3 Salvas and 4 Madras. That is 4 Salva kings and 3 Salva kings and 4 Madra kings. So this is how they spread here. The Salva kings and Madra kings are happening here. Then Bali is mentioned. So it is not very, the Purana or the Itihasas is not making very clear whether this is same as Mahabali. Maybe Bali is a very simple name. It can, multiple kings can have that name. So Bali means a strong man. Bali, there is a Bali mentioned. His children established Anga, Pundra, Sukma, Vanga, Kalinga, 5 kingdoms. That is mentioned, one of the Genesis mentioned in Mahabharata. Then Bharatas, actually Bharatas, they were become Kurus and Panchalas. They are sibling tribes. And Vatsas also. The Bharata region is here, and the Rigveda is basically a Bharata chronicle as per Srikant Alagari. So they were living between the Sindhu Saraswati, no, not Sindhu Saraswati. They were living between Yamuna and Saraswati region. That is currently Haryana, Pururashtra region. Rashadwati was one of the middle river. So in that region, Bharata's, the cradle of Bharata's territory. From there, they diversified into Kuru, Panjala, then Vatsa, etc. Kanya, Kubja. So this region, they keep on changing here. Because I mentioned Panjala, from here to here, they migrated. Kuru, they migrated from here to Vatsa. All these things happened actually. Then Yadavas diversified into original their territory is Surasena, that is the south of Kuru Panjala. From their native territory, they went to they diversified into Dasharna, Chedi, Kunti, Karusha, Avanti, Dwaraka, Anartha, Haiheya, Gomanta, Bhoja, Andhra, all the places. This entire southern region, the Yadavas migrated. So you have surnames of Yadav in Maharashtra, in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, in Gujarat, everywhere, in Uttar Pradesh, everywhere. So that is because the Yadav migration is in this entire region, like that. And the Anus. Anu means the Yayati, the patriarchal king Yayati is considered as a similar. He is not given a status of Prajapati, but he is a generator of many king lineages. So Yayati has got 5 kings: Yadu, then Anu, Turvasu, Puru, like that. Five tribes are there. In that Yadu, that is the progenitor of Yadavas, and the Anus are the progenitor of the northwestern kingdom like Gandhara, Kekeya, Madra. All these things all these northwestern kingdoms currently falling in Pakistan. They are like children of Anu. That is then Puru is basically the progenitor of the Bharata dynasty. Like as a descendant of Puru, Bharata emerged and the Bharata dynasty originated. And the Bharata king spread all over this region. That is why we call it Parvatas Varshas. And then there is Turvasu and Drahyu. So the Turvasu, it's like a very less powerful kind of tribe, because of matrimonial alliances, etc. They merged with the Yadavas and other sibling tribes. And Drahyu is as per Talagari, Drahyu is the Indo-European tribe that went westernmost, and they give rise to the Central Asian Indo-European speakers as well as the European speakers. That is the thesis of Srikant Talagari. So there you have that out of India theory very clearly defined. Even in geography, reflections are seen. Yeah, so this is, I think this is my final slide, just explaining that this is also to caution the people who are working on geographical analysis, etc. That if you see an idea about a particular kingdom, if you see some idea like immediately you just don't jump into conclusion that okay, this particular place can be identified. Because in West Bengal, if you look at, there are folklore about places which they say, okay, the Ekachakra is here, like somewhere in West Bengal, they say Ekachakra is there. Then they'll say so many places. In Kerala, if you go there are a lot of IPMs. They say the Bhima killed Bakasura here. I mean, in some native village in Kerala. And similarly, they'll say that Hidimba is killed here. So there is IPMs. So you have to be very careful about the identification. And whenever there is an IPM, it has to be the folklore, local folklore. It has to be corroborated with the actual narrative in Mahabharata. And maybe you don't stick. You have to just again re-corroborate it with what is there in Ramayana, Puranas, everywhere. And you should also try to do a prioritization, like which is the correct information. So typically, if you look at the geographically, I trust Mahabharata more than, for example, Ramayana. There are reasons for that, because there is some kind of discrepancy that is crept into Ramayana geography. So in the Puranas, there will be again a lot of discrepancies and folklores are there. So you have to consider this like local folklore. You have to be very much carefully evaluate the filter out the data, distill the data, and also you should be careful about the migrations of people, and also about the same name applicable to multiple places because of the migration of people. So these three things you have to be very importantly you need to consider while you are trying to evaluate or analysis the geography of itihasas or puranas. That is my one conclusive word, and with that I end this talk.
Well, just superb, Jijith ji. This is just amazing.
Thank you.
I think the only word I can use is it's just amazing, and I'm sure we can like go on and on. I mean, this is like we didn't want you to stop literally. I think we started. It's almost 9:15 now. We started around 7:10, 7:15. 2 hours. I mean, still people are engrossed. You know, it's like so gripping, and you're as if walking through centuries and thousands of millenniums of Bharat's history. It's just amazing, and you know, I can only say a great pranams to your great works that you have done, the great you know, research that you have done to put together all these you know, narratives and wonderful you know, way of looking at the whole thing. It's just amazing, and we are so proud of you for what you have done at an age with a career that would have fetched you millions of dollars. You chose to look at the glory of Bharat. That in itself is you know, just amazing. We are so proud of you for that. I mean, do I really have questions? I don't know. I'm not sure, but still, I'm sure there are people who want to ask questions. I would request the audience to raise the hand button in. You know, Zoom has this feature called hand button. You can raise that button, and then we will sequentially call you. While they are raising the hand button, Jijith ji, some of the stuff what you've spoken about, I have personally experienced. For instance, I had been to Ahitchatra. Ahitchatra is the capital of Ashwatthama. So people don't even understand Ashwatthama ever had a capital, because you know that Guru Dakshina time the Panchal kingdom was split into two. The Uttara Panchal was taken by Dronacharya and Dakshina Panchal was left to Drupada. So he asked Ashwatthama to rule the Uttara Panchala, and then he stayed in the Kuru kingdom. So there is a town called Ahitchatra even now. It's called Alamgirpur or something like that. Alampur, yes. Or it's got a different name right now. But yes, the Ahitchatra ruins are still there. And then you have Kampilya. Then you have, maybe you can stop the screen share. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I am going to enable chat as well, so people, if they want, they can give their views as well. So, and then you have Parikshit Ghat, what you spoke about, and you know, the Budi Ganga. The Ganga used to flow about 10 to 15 kilometers south of where it is flowing right now. So all the places that you mentioned, Hastinapur and all these places are, you know, on the old path of Ganga.
Yes.
I was fortunate enough to see quite a few of them. There is a place called Ghad Mukteshwar, where Nahusha attained Mukti. So that is again on the Ganges River. About right now, the village is about 10 kilometers from, about 5 kilometers from the Ganges, the current flow of Ganga. So it is for us to go discover it. I mean, I'm sure your maps and the research that you have done should probably help people to really go and look it up. In fact, if you go to Trigarta Raja is in Himachal Pradesh. The Kangra kings, they claim that they are descendants of you know, Trigarta Rajas, and they have a chart, 5,000-year lineage. I believe they fought with Rama, Bhagavan Rama, and they fought in Mahabharata war against the Pandavas. We know that they are responsible for killing of Abhimanyu. They took away Arjuna in the battlefield and all.
Saptakas are from Trigarta. They sworn enemies of Arjun.
Correct.
Reason because he has defeated Trigarta in his pilgrimage, the Dvijaya.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So there is a genealogical chart there. Their Vamshavruksha. They have put up there in Kangra. In the Kangra fort, you have it. So, I mean, it is for us, the Bharatiyas, to go rediscover it. And I mean, you just, the kind of information you have packed into us is just mind blowing. I don't know, it takes a lot of days for us to really register what you have even spoken about. But just a few questions, I'll ask 2-3 questions and then I'll throw it open to people to ask questions. One is, like what you rightly said, there are multiple claimants for each of these places, right?
Yes.
I think Virat Nagar, there is a small village called Beirut, or Virat Nagar they call it, in Rajasthan, close to Alwar. And then there is a Virat Nagar which is claimed in Nepal, I think. So there are 2 claimants for that. Similarly, Narasimha Avatar is supposed to have happened in Multan, which is called Mulastan in Pakistan today. And then there are claimants in Andhra, which is Ahobilam. They claim that it is, the place where it is. So, given these kinds of contradictory things, how do we resolve some of these things? It is important. I mean, we cannot hurt the sentiments of people. We can't really hurt their belief structures. People are going with sincerity to some of these pilgrim spots. You can't obviously go to Multan now. So if you're going to Ahobilam, you cannot say that this is not the place where it is. But having said that, I think at a scholarly level, we need to do something else. What do you think we should do to kind of crystallize this at a research level, popularize this at a scientific level and at an intellectual level? What should we do?
Yeah, so there is a conflict resolution part that is there. Actually, I have in this talk I have not detailed much, but one of my research papers I have very detailed I have mentioned. So one is like if you have multiple claimants like Virat Nagar and Nepal's Virat Puri. So the thing is like there is a definite kind of information provided in Mahabharata when Pandavas are moving around. So that is why the travel narratives are at most important. In the travel narratives, it is very clearly mentioned that the neighborhood kingdoms surrounding the Kururashtra, one of them is Matsya, and then Panjala and Trikarta and then Salva, like that, South Surasena, etc. So that gives you a very clear picture like where is Matsya. Okay, and then there is a narrative of Pandavas in their Ajnata, this after their House of Luck incident. They were wandering around, they met Vyas somewhere in the Yamuna river, and then they went south. And when south means while going south, they reached Matsya. And from there, they went east, and then they reached a kingdom called a small chieftain called Kichaka. And from there, they reached the boundary of Panchala, and that is Ahichatrata. There was a small kingdom called Vetrakiya there, which is under control of Baka. The king was powerless, so the Baka was controlling. So this entire narrative, if you plot it, the Nepal completely goes out of this. The entire Virat Nagar in Nepal becomes impossible. So this way, we will plainly show to the different claimants and see that no, this is not matching up. For example, one of the claim is not matching up, but other one is having more weightage. So some of the places it is very clear. So I'll say that because of X and Y reasons, with the consensus of both the claimants, I'll say this is the correct one. Second one, another is a thing you talked about, sentimental, is there. For example, Nasik and then Parnashala in Telangana, they are very attached to the people's belief systems, etc. So what we will definitely, like for example, when I start explaining, I will say that we are not in the business of questioning the tradition. So traditionally, if there is a temple in Nasik, saying it is Panchavati temple, that we are not at all refuting it because belief is belief. Second is that part will. So then we will ensure them that our scholarship or our research or our maps are not at all affecting your tradition. Because Nasik, I am saying it is because it's a very strong actually. Because second thing is tourism is associated with it. So if there is a big kind of discussion about like between Nasik and Parnashala of Bhadrajalam, definitely the tourist industries will clash. So there are such things, but scholarly things are like we have to like present the data, and anybody can refute it. Like you refute with your information. You go through Vartika Ramana verses and try to find out how Rama reaches Nasik, or like find out how Rama reaches Bhadrachalam, and see how much it matches between. So then both of the, even you can even bring them into conference table. That is what Kurukshetra war dating is happening because of that. Different people have different dates, then they will come into the table, discuss it, and then you can resolve that particular conflict. But ITHMs we'll always respect the ITHMs and the Salapuranas, ITHMs, and folklore, we always respect it because that is our tradition. Even in Mahabharata, Katha is also like that. You have a Vyasa Mahabharata version, and we can clearly go through the critical edition of Mahabharata and find out which is the actually there as part of all the versions of Mahabharata, which is a particular variant, which is the folklore. Everything is clear. But we are not going to question a Kathakara or a Panchwani and say that whatever narrative your Katha is wrong. We are not telling that because that is their tradition. We respect that particular tradition. Kerala, I'm coming from Kerala. So many places, because they are so much infatuated with Mahabharata. Every small district have some places related to Bhima. In Idukki district, there is a big mountain in the Malaya. This is Malaya Parvata. But how Bhima is never going to Malaya Parvata. But they say Hidimba, they met Bhima and Hidimba met there. Gadotkaja is born there. So this kind of native. West Bengal is another place. They are very crazy about Mahabharata. Every place in Mahabharata, they say it is there in my locality. So these are traditions, and we have to like love them for that, because that is what kept our Sanskriti, because that's so much of love they have for this particular narrative. So they are bringing it into their village. So that we enforce them, we support them. Rather than the scholarship was in a different line.
Yeah, in fact, I am sitting in a town called Bhimunipatnam.
Okay.
Right now. So again, the same story continues that Bhima killed Bakasura here. So this is in about 40 kilometers north of Visakhapatnam. So, I mean, what you said is right. I mean, we have a lot of these things. But have you kind of created a map with the modern names as well? The ancient name plus the modern name of the place. If you have done such a map, that will be of immense help for people who want to actually visit these places. Because I have visited about 25-30 sites which are not anywhere in the map, right? You spoke about some places like Bharnava. I've been to Bharnava, and then you have Beloni, then you have Parashuram, Pura Mahadev. There are so many places which you spoke about, Kamyaka. A lot of places I visited, but it's not available on the internet. It's not available easily. So maybe if you have the old names as well as the current town, village, or if it's not there, at least the nearest town, if you could identify, that will be of immense help for people to really go and visit these places.
Yeah, I'll take that as input, because all the names I have identified, I have a database in which the real name also mentioned. So even coordinates also mentioned. But the problem is when I create the map, so much information I have with me, I'm struggling to place the original location name itself, because it's a huge amount of information. People don't believe it. I have mentioned like the same amount of information currently in Google Map, the same amount of that equivalent amount we have from the Veda Itihasa Puranas to locate. So, but as you said, if like I can create, because map making is one of my interest area. All these maps you have seen, all I have made. So the locations are positioned in the exact location where you will find the original place name. But as you write, everybody is not very familiar with maps. So if I place something Indraprastha in the Yamuna river bank, people are not able to identify that is Delhi. Yeah, so I can just mention Delhi name, or Varnava, I can say Varnava. Like that, if one bracket and I put it, it will be a little more readable actually. Maybe I'll reduce the number of place names to put this actual place name also nearby, and then we can create maps like that. And I will take it as a very good input.
Well, you don't need to reduce it. What I'm saying is you keep the same map, just have another map with the new names. So you flip it. It's easy for you.
Yeah.
right? You show this map and then you superimpose the other. So it's like if the old name or a new name, they'll easily flip through.
Right.
That will be of immense help, actually.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think there is any Bharatiya, there is no Indian who is not, enamored with Mahabharata.
Right.
So that will be of immense help, sir, that you are doing. One question I'll ask before I throw it open. Of course, you're not an archaeologist. You're not getting into the dating of all these things. I agree. I understand that. But there are certain contradictions. While the place names are so undeniable, be it Ramayana and especially Mahabharata. Ramayana, yes, there could be some challenges, but Mahabharata, at least there are, you have no ambiguity, you have such an amount of clarity, and there are places on the ground. The sad thing is, when you go into the archaeological evidence, it does not date back to something beyond, let's say, 1000 or 1500 BC. For instance, in Kurukshetra, what B.B. Lal did an excavation, it ended up around 1500 BC, around 1000 to 1500 BC, that's it. And that too, it is just basic, pottery shreds and beads and things like that. And the whole of Kurukshetra, when you say 18 Akshonis have been killed, you would find an arrowhead or some weapon, some chariot, some bones, something you should find. There is nothing which is found anywhere. But then there are places. There is Karnal, where Karna was killed. Then there is a place where Abhimanyu was killed. There is a place called Jyotisar, where Bhagavan Krishna gave his Bhagavad Gita. The places are there. But, there is no archaeological evidence, empirical evidence, scientific evidence to back it up. So how do you think we need to solve this issue? Or we change our date lines to something closer to the current period rather than talk about, a distant past? How do we handle this contradiction?
Yes. So maybe you may not be knowing, or I can mention. I'm also my primary expertise in Mahabharata geography, but to help the chronologist, Mahabharata chronologist, I have actually entered into a mediator role and interacting with all the different chronologists. In the last 4 years, I have email interactions and direct conversations. In conferences, I met them, and even now the WhatsApp is there. So many of these the chronologists are actually connected in WhatsApp also. So I have volunteered myself to actually do a comparative analysis of this Kurukshetra war dates, and even also I'm actually working for creating a big Kurukshetra war conference with various organizers, etc. So this particular problem is I have noted, and the thing is, many people look at it from a sentiment point of view, and there is for example, there is a big interest in our entire within our circles. There is a big interest because for a long period of time, around 100 years, the British, the colonial Indologists have tried to compress our chronology. So they say Mahabharata is in 500 BC, or some say 300 BC, etc., which has irritated and annoyed a lot of people. As a result of that, there is a pushback that has happened, which is like exaggerating it. So just like the European colonial Indologists have compressed the dates to fit their faulty alienation theory. So they have 300 BC Mahabharata and 200 BC Ramayana, etc., which is completely baseless. Our side started pushing it back, and then we started getting dates of Mahabharata at 5600 BC, 5561 BC, etc. So that is, and then once they decide that in their mind that this is, they will start looking at the archaeoastronomy, looking at the planetary position, etc., and they'll find out some kind of connection. It is a pattern matching. So if you look for pattern, definitely you will find. That is what a human brain is about. So there is a pattern matching going on. So one of my recent talk I concluded in a different platform was about. Actually, I have done a comparative analysis of all the Kurukshetra war date. The youngest date is Dr. B.B. Lal, archaeologist B.B. Lal, 834 BC for Mahabharata. Definitely it is going beyond the alienation theory dates. Alienation theorists will give you 500 BC, 300 BC date, but B.B. Lal, based on his excavation expertise, and he has on some sheet and gas He has used like Kshamaka, one of the descendant of Yudhishthira, migrated from Hastinapur to Kaushambi. And he has found that because of that, there is a flood happened in Hastinapur. Because of that, Purana says that the king migrated from Hastinapur to Kaushambi. And he identified that flood with a real flood in that region, in Hastinapur. As you said, the river started flowing over the Hastinapur and then went eastward. So current river is much eastward than the Hastinapur, existing current Hastinapur. So, and that happened after crossing over the, like overflowing over the Hastinapur, it happened. So he identified that it's happened around 800 BC, 800 750 BC. That is the basis of his date. And anyway, Purana, anybody read Purana, they know what is the distance, temporal distance or the generation gap between Yudhishthira and Kshamaka. So all these things he matched up and they said 830, 835 BC. That is what his original date. And we need to give much respectability to an archaeologist who has excavated so many kingdoms, so many cities. It is equivalent to the archaeologist who discovered Troy. In Greece, they have discovered only one Troy in Turkey. But here, the Bibilal did 10 times more work, actually. He have discovered Ayodhya, Indraprasth, then Sringiverapura, then the Hastinapur. I think in Kaushambi. This many cities he has unearthed. Then Bibilal's second, you can say disciples, or you can say in his batch, the juniors, they became the archaeology ASI directors. Dr. K.N. Dikshit and B.R. Mani all connected with me. They have unearthed the Kampilya, that is Ashwathama's Kampilya, and Hichatra of Ashwathama and Kampilya of Drupad. All this they have unearthed. Indraprasth they have studied. So this entire archaeologists got a big service, and we need to give some respectability to their Kurukshetra date. Second thing is, the archaeology is just a kind of a moving target. So even like what I understood is, I am actually connected with Rajesh Lal, our father, son of Bibilal. So he's saying that like father is interested in revising the date. Because what happened is that now the painted graver culture that Bibilal was basing upon, that has now expanded from 1000 BC to, like, he can actually easily expand it to 1500 BC, etc. And it is merging with the BMSC culture, which is like there is a continuity and it goes to the Harappan culture also. So from the Harappan to the BMSC and to the PG painted graver, there is a full continuity. Any kind of divisions is like an artificial. Like, see, typically the archaeologists initially thinking that they are different people, but now they are having consensus that the same people, same father, son, grandson kind of lineages created this Harappan to the intermediary culture to the painted graver. So you don't have to have any divisions. So that is the kind of consensus that has come in the archaeology from the descendants of Bibilal. And Bibilal also, after all these inputs from his juniors, who are all now like K.N. Dikshit and B.R. Mani recently retired. So he is also interested in revising, but currently his little health-wise it is a big problem, so he cannot attend a big conference or anything. Actually, I was behind him to maybe give some 5-minute talk in which he can maybe revise the date. But basically the premise is that whatever flood he is mentioning, you can even rematch it to some other flood also. And there could be like a change in the date by around 1000 years also. That is possible. So currently, if you look at, we have identified so many cities. Rakhigarhi is one of them. So in one of my papers, I have proposed the Rakhigarhi, 4000 BC Rakhigarhi as some of the ancestral capital city of the Aditya Elapuru Bharata Kuru lineage. So Kuru is the youngest branch. Older than Kuru is the Bharatas. Older than Bharata is the Puru. And older than Puru is the Adityas. So if you consider it that way, you can have the Rakhigarhi as one of the ancient capitals of the same lineage. And at some point, in the oldest point of time, it is Harappan, but later it has slowly changed into the nature, the characteristics of the cities and towns changed, and it become painted graver, etc. later. So there is a full continuity. Nobody is saying it is discontinuous. That is the kind of current consensus. And even Bibilal can revise the date, but definitely there is a range. Something like 3200 BC, we have to consider as upper limit. Beyond that, it doesn't make any sense. So currently, I am actually giving different weightages to the Kurukshetra war date. A big cluster of Kurukshetra war date is there between 3000 BC and 3200 BC. Vedavir Arya and then Narhari Achar, then Manish Pandit, then Saraja, Jayasri Saranath, and so many others like ML Raja. So many, as many of them are my friends. So all these dates are now clustering in between these 200 years, between 3100 BC to 3000 BC to 3200 BC. Like Vedavari is 3167 and Manish Pandit Achar is at 3067 BC. So this is happening. So there is a cluster there, and there is a proposed chronology revision by Vedavir Arya, because of which we can say our historical dates are all has to be revised, but it is not completely evaluated by other scholars. So I'm actually into that activity because there are other scholars like Talagiri and then Vishal Agarwal and Subhash Kar, so many other people. So they need to ratify this, agree on that, okay, this is really valid and we can put, this is a very important change in the chronology and everything like that, you can decide. Then you actually, if that is also agreeable, then there will be a big tilt towards 3000 BC range. Otherwise, there is again another set of friends, Dr. Ashok Bhatnagar, he is an astronomer himself, he has put a date of 1792 BC. Mohan Gupta is given 1954 BC. Then Ramamurthy is given 1504. And it is all falling into the archaeology range also. So you have a consensus between archaeology and archaeoastronomy, which are these higher dates bigger. So I call it Dyaus and Dhara. So archaeoastronomy is Dyaus, or the sky. The sky is observing, archaeology is Dhara, or earth is observing. Both has to be agree. They both the Dhara and Dyaus need to agree. That kind of date, if you get a consensus, we are at the very cusp of it. Like 10 years back, I cannot say like this, but within the 2010 to 2020, in the last 10 years, this consensus has emerged. And we are starting 5 years, aggressively we are trying to resolve the chronology problem and get a very solid date of the Mahabharata chronology. Our own target date is between 2020 to 2025. We will solve the problem.
Fantastic. I think that's very good to know. And Pragna Bharati will be more than happy to host any of your conferences you want to have it. We can provide the platform for you. We'll be more than happy to be part of that journey. Yeah. I think I'll ask a few questions for my friends. I'll just ask them to do it, and then we will see how it goes. Friends, if you have any question, kindly use the hand button to ask it. I'm asking Rajesh ji to please start. Rajesh ji, please ask a question.
Namaskar ji.
Namaste.
There is one small thing. Normally, we have actually hearing about Kumari Kanda and Lemura, which is slightly below or Sri Lanka or somewhere, which is actually vanished. That people migrated from there to Africa and other things. So, is there any mention in our ancient scriptures or anywhere about that and how it is actually?
Yes.
As it is not actually missed out from the thing which you are mentioning. We have gone up to the China end, but not the bottom.
Actually, I have written an article called Kumari Kandam in my website Ancient Voice. It is a two-part article where I have completely detailed about the concept of Kumari Kandam, which people have identified with Lemuria. So the thing is, there was exaggerations happened because somebody at some point somewhere somebody has created a map where there is a large continent they have depicted in the map, which goes as far as south as Australia and then Antarctica. Actually, so that is not like geologically correct. But I think some of the map I have shown. Can I restart the presentation? Then I can show it. Some of the map I showed. There is a sea. There is a.
Please. I've enabled it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, right. So there is a shallow sea. Just a minute. Yeah, in all these maps you can see that. Just open it. in any of this map, if you look at this, this particular white color, light blue color is actually your old shoreline. So when the sea level was very low, like in the 15,000 BC to 10,000 BC, the ice age was active. So all the water is actually held up as ice in North Pole and South Pole. Because of that, sea level will be much lesser than what is today. Then in that scenario, you can, like, whatever now currently you are seeing as shallow sea will be a landmass. See, like this green color typically is the planar plain, right? It is a non-mountainous plain region. So this green color, you have to identify it as up to here actually. So this was our original shoreline. If you look at here, like this is the Kanyakumari. Maybe I'll put this. Yeah. So this particular shoreline, right? Currently, from here to here, this light blue color is shallow sea. This is actual sea itself. But when the sea level was very low, this green color you have to consider as up to here because it's all landmass. This much here, and connecting Lenga, and the Lenga was connected actually. There was no island called Lenga, but because the entire region was connected actually. So this was the ancient seashore landmass. What happened is some point after this ice age is over by around 10,000 BC, the sea level started rising, and normal sea level rise is 1 meter, 10 meter per century, etc. But sometimes sudden events will occur, like cyclone or tsunami, etc. Then your entire big cities, etc., that may be existing here. A lot of people will be living here. All these people will get washed away suddenly. Sometimes they will escape through flood, through boats, etc. So what is assumed is that there was a big civilization in this entire sea, this old landmass here actually everywhere. All these places which is currently in sea, there was a civilization. When the sea level rise, these people have to flee or they have to escape into the other regions. So in case of south, you see this much southern part is actually a landmass, and the people had to leave this particular region and goes to here. So the earlier the Pandya was extending up to here, wherever this this point is there. So this is giving to the kind of Aitiham of Kumari Kanda. So there was a big landmass that got flooded, and people migrated, and they migrated and started living in the current Pandya. So current Pandya means Madurai is the capital of the current Pandya, and the last Sangam was held in the Madurai. Before that, it was held in Kavadapuram. That Kavada is what I have identified somewhere actually in some of the map. One of the map I have identified that Kavada here. Here this Kavada. So Kavada was there, and before that there was another city called I think if I remember correctly, then Madurai. So that was all submerged under the sea. So you have one city here that was submerged. The first Sangam was here, then the one city here, and second Sangam. The third one, the Madurai, then the Madurai, that last Sangam. This is all mentioned in the Tamil epics, Tamil Idihasa, Silappatikaram, and then before that, in the one more is there like Agatyam. Agatyam, all this ancient Tamil text, it is mentioned. In Ramayana, there is a small sparking reference of Kavada, and that is only data point that you see about this entire submergence that has happened. Because Rama is I think Vanaras came to Kavada actually. I think actually Rama himself actually, because after Hanuman found that Sita is in Lanka, then Rama started marching along with the Vanaras, and they passed into the Pandya kingdom through the Kavada. So that way Kavada is mentioned in Tamil text as well as in Ramayana. So there is some truth into that, but see, the landmass is not very, it is not stretching up to the Australia or into this Antarctica. That is wrong. So the people, what happens is that by looking at that map, they will dismiss the entire Kumari Kandam theory. But if you look at the correct scenario, then you don't have to, I mean, this is an exaggeration happened. Like the length of yojana is multiplied into big numbers, etc. Because of that, when you say you may feel like it is reaching up to Antarctica, but it's actually the India's coastal regions which was submerged after the ice age. There was some civilization that existed in that submerged regions. It's a big place. It's the entire area. If you actually measure it, is bigger than Tamil Nadu. That much big region is submerged into the sea, and that people actually finally escaped into Pandyan kingdom. Some of them escaped into Dwaraka also. That is why you have Dwaraka again is the same. Both Kavata and Dwaraka have the same meaning, entrance.
Okay, so then that leaves us another big question mark, which becomes a controversial question, by its very nature. If you look at the shallow water shelf, and at some point in time there was land in that, which is what the Dwaraka submersion story talks about. And if you go still further into maybe 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 years before that, the water shelf should have been, much lower. And obviously there could have been much, more land around. If you go by that theory, obviously there was no sea gap between Rameshwaram and Talaimannar. Obviously Sri Lanka was connected by land. So that would now raise the question, then what is Ravana's Lanka?
So,
that's a question. If you raise it, it becomes too controversial, because now people have decided that Adam's Bridge or Ram Setu is man-built. And if any statement contrary to that, we will be treated as whatever.
So when I mentioned, I have two articles about Kumarikandam in the ancient voice. I have discussed the Rama's bridge also there. So the thing is, all these things are not happening at the same time, right? So this Sangam events happened at like thousands of years in gap, and Rama is coming at a particular time when the Lanka and the Tamil Nadu landmass just break away. Because the sea level was at such a state where you cannot just swim, but you will require something like a bridge there. At least at that point is what the Rama's narrative happened. I mean, what I'm saying is that this is a continuous process, right? So the like submergence events, I said like 15,000 BC to 10,000 BC, you have entire water is captured in the ice. So the ice age is active, and after that, the temperature rises, sea level rising. So this is happening in 5,000 years, and more than 5,000, 6,000 years it is happening. What I'm saying is certain sporadic events will happen like a cyclone or tsunami where the flood will happen, etc. So, but the narrative, what happens, like any gradual event that will not be captured into the Puranic or narratives. Because some dramatic event happens, that will be captured. So the 5,000 years gradual rise of the sea level is never captured into any of the narrative. But suddenly one cyclone comes, one tsunami comes, one city completely submerged, that will be captured. And the poets start reciting poems about it. That becomes a big event, and that will be captured into Tamil or Sanskrit texts. So, and Rama's event happened at such a point when the landmass in Sri Lanka, India land, that connection got separated, and hundreds of years elapsed after that. And then there will be a need to create a bridge. At that time, Ramayana, that narrative occurred. That's what I'm saying. Just that is one reason. Like I say, that before that, there is an upper limit for the Ramayana chronology because of that. Because after 5,000 BC, 5,500 BC, I have noted down in my article. 5,700 BC, there is no question of any Ramasetu, because Lanka and Sri Lanka are the same connected landmass. So there is an upper limit for the chronology of Ramayana. If the narrative has to become true, it has to be happening after 5,700 BC. The exact date I have mentioned in my article.
Yeah, but see, I mean, before I ask the next question, friends, a lot of you are writing your email IDs on the chat. It will not be registered because after this call is over, the chat will be lost. So kindly write to us on our email ID info@pragnabharati.in. So we could register your email ID and contact details, and we can be in touch with you. Jijith ji, the point is, there are, see, your entire premise is assuming Sri Lanka is Ravana's Lanka. Then you are putting everything in it. So why should Sri Lanka be Ravana's Lanka? If you go by the chronology, then there could have been another Lanka which is not Ravana's Lanka. There are theories which say that Sahasra Yojan from Rameshwaram effectively is, if you go to the east, it is Australia, or to the west, it is Madagascar. And you see the chain of islands from Andaman Islands, you know, Andaman, Nicobar, then you have Aceh province, leads directly up to Australia. And with the water level being down, I'm sure the gaps between these two would have been much less. And Andaman Island is called Hanuman Island, somebody say. And the DNA of Aboriginal Australians date back to 7,500 years. And it matches with the Indian DNA. So, you know, probably Australian Lanka is Ravana's Lanka is our theory that is floating. So the point is, I don't think we should fix any particular place. Empirical evidence as it throws up, I think we should be flexible enough to accept it.
So currently what I do is, like, I have one book is coming that is like travel narratives in Ramayana. In that I have mentioned around 6-7 proper locations of Lanka. And I have given weightages based on the narrative in Ramayana. Because a lot of things has to become true. The direction is mentioned, the direction of movement of Hanuman when he is flying, all these things are mentioned, and also the length of the bridge is mentioned. That is very clearly mentioned. Second is the geography and the flora and fauna is also mentioned. So some places in Lanka, they mention coconut trees also. So the Kadali and Nali Kera is mentioned. It is in Valmiki Ramayana. So if you look at all these things, and the size of the Dvipa, the Lanka island also mentioned, it is also having a central mountain. And the mountains are as high as Himalayas. So these are all the parameters I have given weightages, and I have given multiple locations. And there is a Lanka in Andhra also, like Krishna, there is a Krishna river. When it is flowing to the ocean, there is a Lanka island also is there. So there is a there is a Lanka island named Lanka in Andhra Pradesh itself. And there is an old identification which is based on a completely different theory. Because when I talk about it, it will be like if it's a single passage I mention, it will become confusing. But
I think probably we'll do another call on Ramayana per se.
Right.
I mean, today we have spoke about different things. I'm just making a statement that we should be open to what the science throws up at us.
Yes.
If we have truth with our side, I don't think we need to really worry about it.
Right. That is exactly I mentioned, like if multiple.
Yeah, if Nasik is not the place where Rama went, so be it. I don't think we should worry about it, right? So if Sri Lanka, today Sri Lanka is not Ravana's Lanka, so be it. There will be something else.
Yeah, so that
because I don't think we should worry about it.
I am giving weightages only, right? Actually, if I'm not giving any conclusively, like I am saying, this is the Lanka, but instead I will look at create the weightages, like this many things are true for this particular identification of Lanka, and this many are true for the other one. Same for the Panchavadi, etc. So that is how I have structured it in the book, and I'm expecting it to release from probably the end of this year or the early next year. Actually, that will be there, and it is focused on Ramayana actually.
Fantastic. Then we'll take the next question. Radhesham Pandeyji, please go ahead, sir. Radhesham Pandeyji, you'll have to unmute yourself and then ask the question. Hello, Radhesham Pandeyji.
हाँ सर बोलिए.
हाँ, please ask the question, sir.
हाँ सर, हमारा हिंदी भाषी क्षेत्र के हम हैं. हिंदी जो है रामायण. हेलो.
Yeah, please ask the question. Please ask the question.
जी. ये रामायण जो है राम और रावण की बातें मैंने सुना अंग्रेजी में, और ये धर्म और अधर्म के पक्ष की लड़ाई रही. तो
प्रश्न पूछिए. I mean, let's not get into the discussion right now. Abhi,
जी.
whatever the presentation has happened, if you have any question, please ask the question.
जी.
It's already late. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. Please ask the question.
Yes, yes. रावण के बारे में क्या कहना चाहते हैं आप लोग?
Yeah, actually this is not very related to the geography, but see the Ramayana considered like a gray, shades of gray. So
What role आप कह रहे हैं रावण का रोल क्या रहा?
Right. So the I will make it very brief. So the Vatmiki Ramayana, if you look at it, Mahabharata, every character is mentioned in shades of gray. So some good aspects of Ravana is mentioned. Similarly, like the bad aspects of adharmic aspects of Ravana is mentioned. And if you just try to compare, the adharma is more, and that is the reason like he was worthy of death. And that is why that conflict comes, and the amount of adharma in him is a little higher, as a result of which Rama has killed him. If that answer is satisfactory to you, I think.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Then Tahmina Kausar. Tahmina ji, please go ahead and ask. I think Tahmina Kausar is not connected on the microphone. I think your phone is disconnected. You will not be able to ask. You have to connect your mobile, to the phone, and then you can ask. We'll wait for you. Rangarajan ji, please ask your question, sir. Rangarajan Pratyavadi Bharati.
Unmute.
Yeah, please ask.
Hello.
Yes.
My question is, according to our Panchangams, Kali Era is now running 5,122 years, 5,122. Why our scientists or researchers or any geologist, archaeologist considering this date? We are all, every time we are depending on Western geologists or archaeologists. They have mentioned in our history books and all those things, 1000 BC, 500 BC, 1400, Rigveda started 1400 in 1400 BC, like that. Why we are not calculating 5,122 years? The moment Sri Krishna left for his abode Vaikuntha, the Kali Yuga started. Our Tamil and Telugu Panchangams also showing every year they are mentioning like this. Why we are not considering this 5,122 years? Please explain.
Yes. So the thing is, you have a traditional date of Mahabharata war, that is 31012 BC.
3,102 BC.
Yeah, 3102 BC is the the Kali Yuga start, and like 36 years before that, that is 3138 BC, this Kurukshetra war. So this is the traditional understanding, and what I have, because I have been connected with many chronologists like Ravi, who is actually doing research on the Kurukshetra war. And what is his opinion is basically like you have calendars. See, our Bharatiyas actually created many calendars. Calendars means like you have to define the time, how many number of months are elapsing, and how the seasons has to be defined. So based on that, agriculture has to be like all this seeding of plants, everything has to be decided. So for this, calendars are created, and what happens is that all these calendars based they're attached with some kind of a traditional event. So similarly, you have Yudhishthira Samvatsara. Whether I know whether you don't know, I'm not sure whether it is clear. Yudhishthira Samvatsara is starting from 3067 BC, and Kali Varsha is starting from 3102 BC, like you mentioned. And there is another Saptarshi era is also commencing. And that is there is 100 years of difference between them. So these are calendars actually. So so whenever we do this particular Panchaga Kala Ganana, we are actually relying on one of these calendars. Even after that 3000 BC period, so many calendars started. That is what I said, 3000 BC to 3200 BC, 3 calendars are started. Yudhishthira Samvatsara, then Kali era, that is Kali Samvatsara, that is 3102 BC, Yudhishthira Samvatsara 3067 BC. There is Saptarshi Samvatsara, Saptarshi calendar. And there is even Shaka king, started ruling from in India. Then Shaka Samvatsara started. Then Shaka ruler was defeated by Vikramaditya of Ujjain. Then another Shakanta era was started. So we were not stopping at creating calendars. Even Kerala, there is a Kwallavarsham, and there is a Vishuva Samvatsara, that is different. So 2 calendars in Kerala, the same people are actually going through 2 calendars. According to one calendar, the year started is Chingam one, Simha Rashi one. That is considered that Onam celebration coming from that. And there is a Vishuva Samvatsara which is followed everywhere all over in India. It is also followed in Kerala, that started in April 1st. Currently it is in April 15th. There is a shift actually because of precession of equinox. There is shifts also happening. So because of that, April 15th or 14th it starts. So these are calendars. So the tradition, one of the calendar is Kali Samvatsara calendar. That is a calendrical tradition. That is what I have to say about it. And that is the reason why so many number of researchers are, even after this tradition is there, still many researchers are researching on the Kurukshetra awarded independent of the calendrical tradition only because of this reason.
Thank you. Rangarajanji, I hope that's okay. I've muted you. You can unmute and... yeah, see, okay. What happens is when he's talking, we say, and then it will get disturbed. So I had muted you. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
But even today, our history, dates and everything tampered by Britishers.
Don't put your finger on your camera.
Correcting it.
You're putting your finger on your camera.
And ours is Guru Shishya Parampara. And orally, there was no written history, chronological order. But according to our Guru, Shishya, and his Guru, it is coming from time immemorial. And can't we take into consideration all these things?
Yeah, so the answer is even though it's our own traditional scholars are also having the different dates, right? For example, despite the Kali Samvatsara starting at 3102 BC, we have Nileshok, which gives a date of 5561 BC to Mahabharata. So that means, and he is considered as a Bharatiya scholar and believing in our tradition. So that what the reason I'm saying is that it is not just the British that having questions on this, but our own traditional scholars who are working on the chronology, because I have now enumerated around 12 different chronology researchers. All of them are Indians, and they're brought up in the tradition itself. And this particular variation is coming because of not because of any respect to the tradition, but because of certain parameters. Because anyway, this particular talk, it's not possible to delve into the details because of many other parameters. My previous talk was actually about that. They have arrived at different dates. All of them are traditional scholars, including Professor B.B. Lal, the archaeologist. Maybe only 1 or 2 person name I'm seeing, they are Western scholars, but they are all believing in Sanatana Dharma, like Director Coach. Only just one or 2 names, but remaining around 12, 15, all our Bharatiya scholars.
Okay, thank you, Rangarajanji. Thank you. I think we will close it at that. We have got, I think we have taken full 3 hours of your time. Now it's 10 o'clock. as I said, we don't have a time limit, but then, I think a lot of people would have snoozed off by now. But I'm sure it's been so absorbing. It's just unbelievable, the kind of information that you have thrown, which actually solidifies the belief, solidifies the respect and love for your ancient chronology, ancient history, and what has been spoken. It reinforces that after all, our ancestors were not fools. I mean, they really came out with something. They recorded their memory in a poetic way or whatever it is. So I think it is just wonderful. I think we'll take one last question from Amit Chaudhary ji, and then Rajesh ji will propose a vote of thanks. Amit ji, you can unmute and speak, please. Amit Chaudhary. Amit ji, you can you can now speak. Yeah. Amit ji, you can ask your question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead and ask your question. Hello. Amit Chaudhary ji. Okay, there seems to be some issue with him. I think we'll close it. Rangarajan ji wanted to ask something. I think we'll close it, Rangarajan ji. I think just what is it?
Okay. Hello. According to Ramayana, it is mentioned that 100 yojanas from our lost land of Bharat, that is to reach Lanka. 100 yojana, 1 yojana is Jyotish yojana is 8 miles. That is somewhere around 12 to 13 kilometers. That means from India to Sri Lanka, to reach Lanka, 1,200 or 1,300 kilometers. It is somewhere near Antarctica.
Oh,
It
okay.
may be submerged. I think that Lanka is not visible now. It may be submerged underwater. Can you elaborate this?
Yeah, yes. So actually, as part of my the upcoming book, I have completely analyzed the distance unit called yojana. So if you look at the Sarga, 5th Sarga of Balaganda, it mentions about the dimensions of Ayodhya city. And here it is mentioned around 16 yojana width and around 12 yojanas, 16 yojanas long and 12 yojanas wide. So and if you put the distances 13.5 kilometers is the standard unit currently, like many people go with the 1 yojana distance, and it goes even 130 kilometer also 1 yojana, that definition is there. So if you consider the yojana as a constant everywhere, then you will have many discrepancies. So what I understood completely, I looked at all the references of yojana in Ramayana, and I see that the yojana word is used for multiple dimensions actually. So the smallest one is 132 meters. And then it goes to 169 meters. The yojana name is used for 169 meters, 132 meters, and then 5.2 kilometers, 52 kilometers, and 13.8 kilometer, and finally 130 kilometer. So this much variation is there in yojana. So you will have to not only use the measurement yojana, but also you need to use what is the unit in various instances in the verses in the Ramayana. There are 18,700 verses of Ramayana currently available, and in that every yojana reference you need to evaluate and then find out in which group it falls. So then this kind of discrepancies will not be there. If you go with a constant yojana, then even then Ayodhya city will become bigger than Uttar Pradesh. So that kind of problems will be there. So this is how you have to actually judiciously use the length of the yojana based on the context.
Thank you. I think, as I said, we'll do another session on Ramayana. Jijith ji, I think that is something which we are not going to let you off. we will need a lot of your lectures, and this is just amazing. It is time that we go back to our roots, go back to our civilizational, wisdom and grandeur, and then present it to the current generation. I mean, none of our textbooks, none of our curriculum is teaching anything of this. So we will be more than happy to be, hosting you several times over, and it's just amazing. With that, I think I'll hand it over to Rajesh ji. But before Rajesh ji speaks, friends, we request all of you to kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Twitter handle, and all our assets, Facebook page, Instagram, as well as Telegram, so that we can be in touch with you. This entire talk would be, it has already gone live. It's going live on Facebook, and it will be uploaded in YouTube in a couple of days' time. So you could actually share it with a lot of people, because this is so rich in content. We need to take it to a much, much larger audience. So those of you who have seen this and have appreciated it, kindly do subscribe to our YouTube channel and spread the word across, so that the scientific temper and the belief in our ancient glory spreads far and wide. With that, I hand it over to Rajesh ji for proposing a word of thanks.
Thank you very much, Jijith ji, for your wonderful talk. And I don't want to take much of the time, because we have already spent about 3 hours. But it is worth spending this kind of a time on weekend, on a Saturday evening, on understanding the geography and history. We cannot actually name it limit it to some certain things only. It is we are actually gone through the history, geography, and we have gone through the scriptures and Vedic things. So this culmination of all those things, it is a really wonderful time spending on this. And we, after going through this session, everybody will go back to some kind of doing some kind of a more research. Even to ask some questions also, somebody has to do a lot of research on this kind of a topic. It's a wonderful, and I think the questions asked is very limited because of that. Because all these things we have never actually, some people might have heard, or some people might have actually seen it, but culmination of all this geography and scriptures, because Mahabharata, we have mentioned Matsya and other kingdoms there, but beyond the Himalayas and other things, it is very wonderful research you have done, Ji. And as Giridharji mentioned, we would like to host you multiple times, and that time we have to split this talk limited to only one topic, like Ramayana or Mahabharata or any other one topic, so that we can go much deeper into that, as you are mentioning. We'll definitely do that soon. And to all the participants, those who have actually started sending their email IDs, they can actually send a mail to our info@Pragna Bharati, so that you will be receiving mails about our future programs, and you will get an update about our future activities. And it's a wonderful evening, and thank you very much for all the people, and thank you, Jijith, for your wonderful time and wonderful research. And we would like to get some more information and more research papers on these issues and these topics from your side. And thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Jijith ji, and hope to see you back pretty soon. And that last request which I made, kindly superimpose both the maps, the ancient one with the new one, and that should kick off a lot of people's interest in visiting these places. I, for one, will definitely go. I've already seen quite a few of them, and I would, just love to go with you, with the maps that you're presenting. Thank you so much. Namaste to all of you, and Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
Namaskar.